jaw-dropping royal story that's shaking the world. In a moment, no one saw coming. Queen Camilla broke down in tears as King Charles III made a historic decision, handing the throne to Prince William. What broke the Queen's heart? Could this be the turning point that changes the British monarchy forever? Join us as we uncover the secrets behind this shocking event and reveal the untold drama that's been kept hidden for far too long. The truth may be more powerful than anyone expected. Hey everyone, what do you think about this royal drama? Has anyone in your family or friend group ever predicted that Prince William would take the throne this soon? If yes, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, leave a 0. Be sure to watch the full video for all the juicy details, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Your opinion matters. Let's dive in and see what really happened. The throne room shimmered with the ceremonial glow of royal tradition, yet beneath all the grandeur, something far more fragile was unfolding. King Charles stood tall, but the weariness on his face was unmistakable. At his side was his beloved wife Camilla and his eldest son Prince William, standing poised beside him. Sunlight streamed through the cathedral windows, casting a warm glow over the golden regalia. But every gaze was fixed on the man slowly approaching the throne. In that moment, history and emotion collided. This wasn't a typical ceremonial event. It wasn't a tradition carefully planned on a royal calendar. It marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. Charles paused just before the throne, his shoulders heavy with the weight of history. William stood nearby upright and composed, fully aware that this historic moment was focused on him and on Camilla. Every breath in the room felt suspended as the future of the monarchy hung in the balance. Even the most seasoned royal followers couldn't help but be moved by the moment King Charles officially placed the crown on Prince William's head. In the grand throne room where royal traditions have endured for centuries, the emotions of a mother, a wife, and a queen blended into one powerful scene. As Charles gently set the crown upon his son's head, cameras caught Camilla's tears streaming silently down her cheek. It was a moment filled with pride, pain, and the weight of everything that had led to this day. This wasn't a scripted ritual with rehearsals and perfect lines. It was a transfer of power, but also a mother's pride, a wife's farewell, and the quiet departure of a queen. William knelt to receive the crown, Charles embraced his son, and Camilla stood by in silence, overcome with emotion. This is not the monarchy we once imagined. This is the humanity we rarely see breaking through centuries of tradition. Camilla stood motionless, her gaze fixed on the two most important men in her life. Her face, usually composed and unreadable, began to shift. The tremor of emotion was impossible to miss. Her eyes softened, her lips pressed tightly together, and yet something unmistakable lingered deep within her expression. No words were spoken, but the farewell was clear. This wasn't just a formal ceremony, it was a queen's silent goodbye. The air was thick with emotion, as if the room itself was holding its breath. William looked at his father not just as a king, but as the man who had raised and guided him. That moment was both dramatic and profoundly real. The centuries-old royal rituals suddenly touched emotions so raw that it felt as though time had stopped. No one in the room dared to move. Everything paused in a sacred instant. It was a rare fusion of history, legacy, and heartfelt connection. But today the decision had been made. Charles didn't speak of his frail health, but rather of time gradually slowing. The exhaustion, the weight of the crown, and a changing world all called for a new face, a younger voice. This wasn't a retreat born of weakness. It was a deliberate, thoughtful transfer of power. Camilla turned to look at Charles, her eyes not filled with fear, but with a quiet, unspoken pain. In that glance, decades of love, sacrifice, and duty were silently acknowledged. She had stood by Charles through every storm, from scandals to the pressures of royalty, and now she would continue to stand beside him as he stepped back, making room for the next generation. "I will always support you," Camilla said softly, "all the way." They looked at each other no longer as monarchs, no longer defined by their titles, but simply as two people who had spent their lives under the public eye. Now they were preparing to step quietly out of the spotlight. In that stillness, there was both relief and sorrow. This was a historic moment, the final act of a king, the first step of a son, and the quiet unraveling of a queen. And it all happened live. The final decision of King Charles. That very morning, before the crown sparkled beneath the lights of the throne room, King Charles sat alone in his private office, lost in silent reflection. He knew that what he was about to do would change the course of the monarchy forever. The room was cloaked in darkness, heavy with the weight of an ending moment. In front of Charles, Camilla stood still, composed, yet clearly unsettled, as if sensing that something irreversible was about to happen. "It's time," Charles finally said, his voice low and steady. "William, now it's your time." Camilla didn't speak. She folded her hands in her lap, her gaze distant, fixed on the window. She had heard these thoughts before, fleeting whispers in quiet moments past. But this time they weren't just thoughts. They were a final decision. This moment held everything: sacrifice, love, and the understanding that legacy isn't just about preserving the past, but sometimes knowing when to let go. In the hours that followed, as Camilla stood in the grand throne room, she reflected on it all. Every step taken, every decision made, and now the final step into history. It was the closing of one chapter and the quiet beginning of another, written not in ceremony, but in grace. When William put on his uniform that morning, he wasn't just dressing in ceremonial attire, he was stepping into destiny. Each button he fastened, each piece of metal he attached, felt heavier than ever before. Over the years, he had been trained and prepared for this moment. But nothing could have truly prepared him for the feeling of the crown being placed upon his head. Standing at the edge of the throne room, William took a deep breath. He glanced at Camilla, who looked at him with a tenderness he had never expected. In that brief exchange, a silent understanding passed between them. When that historic moment arrived, William couldn't help but think of the emotion in Camilla's eyes and the deep pride reflected in Charles's trembling hands. He knew that the true power of this moment wasn't in the words spoken, it was in the look exchanged between generations. As Charles turned to him and gave a gentle nod, William bowed not just to his king, but to the father who had prepared him for this moment. It was a gesture filled with respect, love, and the silent passing of a legacy. The son of a king, the heir, and now the future of the crown. Camilla's tears began to fall. As the crown left Charles's hands, a subtle yet profound change appeared in Queen Camilla's expression. A single tear slowly traced her cheek, catching the light from the grand chandeliers. It wasn't part of the ceremony, not something rehearsed or expected. But it was real, so real that no one in the room could look away. In that tear was a lifetime of emotion quietly spilling into history. There was no rivalry, no tension, only gratitude and a quiet acknowledgement. Thank you for everything, he told himself. Then his gaze shifted to Charles, his father, his king, who would soon no longer carry either title. Their relationship had been tested and rebuilt over time, shaped by hardship and healing. But this moment wasn't about dwelling on the past. It was about stepping forward into the future. And for the first time, that future felt entirely his own. William stepped forward each stride, steady, his back straight, his face composed, though his hands remained firm with quiet tension. The weight of royal tradition pressed on him, but so did the weight of the future. This wasn't just about preserving the monarchy, it was about evolving it. William had prepared a speech, one carefully edited, rehearsed, and refined. But when the moment arrived, he knew that only sincerity could truly capture what needed to be said. The crown was heavy, but his voice had to be light with truth. As Charles gently placed the crown in William's hands, Camilla's lips parted, and she took a deep breath, struggling to hold back the emotions rising in her chest. A quiet sniffle, barely audible, echoed through the throne room. She raised a hand to her chest, an instinctive gesture as she stood motionless, though the emotions inside her surged. The camera zoomed in, capturing the moment without missing a beat. It was a split second of vulnerability that spoke louder than any words ever could. And that was the image of a queen undone, not by sorrow, not by regret, but by a powerful wave of love, pride, and immense sacrifice. She had stood by Charles not only through the years of monarchy, but through decades of misunderstanding, criticism, and reinvention. And now she watched him let go, and with that release, her role quietly came to an end as well. It was the closing act of a woman who had given everything and asked for nothing in return. Every step they had taken, every formal dinner, every overseas trip, every difficult decision had led to this moment. Now Camilla stood still and quiet, filled with both tears and pride. It wasn't just the crown being passed on. It was an entire lifetime woven into the fabric of the monarchy. This ceremony wasn't just a coronation. It was a symbol of sacrifice, contribution, and unforgettable moments. And in that moment, all the years of duty and devotion came full circle. The end of an era unfolded before their eyes. Then a sudden moment, not part of the official script. Camilla quietly raised her hand, gently wiped away her tears, and straightened her back. A final deep breath. She glanced at Charles and William one last time, as the crown changed hands and the Queen bowed for the final time before the public. It was a graceful farewell filled with dignity, signaling the close of a chapter she had carried with strength and heart. Silent and solemn, that moment was unforgettable. The final words of the ceremony echoed through the grand hall, and immediately a quiet wave spread across the room. No one dared to speak. The weight of what had just happened was too immense. Centuries of tradition passed down from father to son settled like dust beneath the sunlight. It was a moment suspended in time where history, legacy, and emotion quietly became one. King Charles stood tall, the crown in his hands, and spoke with steady calm. "Now I hereby appoint my son William as the next king of this great kingdom." William stepped forward, kneeling on one knee, his heart full of purpose and devotion. "I swear to protect and serve in duty and in heart." The throne room fell silent. No music, No whispers, only history echoing through the polished stones. It was a moment that would be etched into the legacy of the crown forever. Camilla stood beside him, her posture strong, though her cheek was still damp from the tears she had shed earlier. Her eyes never left William, not out of sorrow, but out of boundless respect. The courtiers watched as well, some with tears quietly forming in their eyes. No speeches were made, only solemn nods, a deep reverence for this historic moment. In that silence, a powerful unity was felt by all who bore witness. But then, in a moment of pure humanity that left everyone astonished, Charles stepped toward William and embraced him. It wasn't a royal handshake or a scripted nod, it was a hug tight and sincere. A father pulling his son close, not just to pass on the crown, but to share love, trust, and the heavy burden that now rested on William's shoulders. Camilla stood watching, her eyes still shining, though the expression on her face remained unreadable. It was an unforgettable moment, one that transcended tradition and touched the hearts of all who witnessed it. Then she moved, not hurriedly, but with each step full of grace. Her walk through the silent throne room carried weight, each movement steeped in unspoken meaning. This was her final entrance into the room, not as a queen, but as a wife, a maternal figure and a witness to one of the most emotional days in royal history. With every step, she seemed to leave behind a legacy of quiet strength and unwavering presence. Can you feel the weight of this moment? As the crown changes hands, it's not just a throne, it's a legacy and raw emotion laid bare. What are your thoughts on the modern monarchy that Charles, Camilla, and William are shaping? Drop your opinions in the comments below right now, and if this story is gripping you like it is us, hit that like button and share this video to keep this historic moment alive. Make sure you stay tuned, because what happens next could change everything. Not with gold or jewels, but with emotion. The public's reaction was swift. News editors scrambled to revise their scripts. Reporters at the palace discarded their pre-written headlines. The story had shifted. It was no longer just about the transfer of power. It was about the power of emotion. And within minutes, the internet erupted. Screens lit up with hashtags, tributes, and heartfelt reactions from around the world. William turned back, approached her, and in a moment that melted even the hardest hearts, he knelt and embraced Camilla. He didn't bow his head, he wrapped her in both arms. The gesture shattered years of tension, declaring to the world, this is family, not merely monarchy. Gasps echoed from the court's gallery. Royal watchers knew this was no rehearsal. This was genuine connection. This was grace. This was unity in motion. And in that silent embrace, a new chapter quietly began. Outside the palace, videos of the moment spread rapidly. People didn't just witness a crown being passed, they saw hearts reaching out. The moment was raw, authentic, and perhaps a glimpse of the modern monarchy we might come to expect. In a single instant, Charles, Camilla, and William formed a silent, emotional triangle. The future was set. And across the world, viewers felt they were witnessing not just history, but transformation. Videos of Camilla's tears, her unexpected embrace with William, and Charles's gentle voice declaring his son as successor quickly dominated every platform. Camilla crowns soared as a global trend. But this time, it wasn't driven by controversy or conflict. It was compassion. Outside Buckingham Palace's gates, jubilant crowds cheered. Strangers embraced, sharing a priceless moment. For once, the monarchy had united people not through tradition alone, but through genuine human emotion. An elderly woman clutched her chest and said, "I never thought I'd see this day. What a beautiful moment." Tourists wiped their eyes, unsure why. The scene touched everyone, and though pundits debated its implications, even the harshest critics fell silent. A prominent columnist tweeted, "I've never supported the monarchy, but this moment, that was real." For a brief moment, history and humanity stood side by side, leaving no room for cynicism. As the cameras stopped rolling and the palace doors closed, Camilla sat alone in a room far from the glow of ceremonial crowds. The soft light from the fireplace danced across her face, the room quiet, just as she liked it, just as she needed. She hadn't meant to cry. She thought she'd be composed, regal, detached. But when Charles passed the crown and she met William's eyes, the tears came not from sadness or fear, but from everything they'd fought for to reach this moment. It was a release years in the making, the kind of emotion that only comes after a lifetime lived under scrutiny. A senior aide later recounted that she whispered to Charles that evening, "It was my greatest honor." It wasn't a line for the cameras, but a truth from her heart. She had stood by Charles through every storm. When public opinion shifted, when tabloids painted her as the villain, when scandals shook the monarchy, she stayed not because she had to, but because she chose to, for love, for loyalty, and for him. That quiet declaration carried the weight of decades spent in the shadows, finally brought into the light. Morning shows endlessly replayed the ceremony. Analysts praised Camilla's strength, Charles's humility, and William's composure. Even those who once called for abolishing the monarchy admitted this display of vulnerability might have earned the crown rare public affection. Though a few critics persisted, questioning the timing symbolism or lack of parliamentary debate, their voices were drowned out not by silence, but by sincerity. The emotional authenticity of the moment spoke louder than any policy or protocol could. This time, the royals didn't lean on history or ceremony. They leaned on their humanity, and the public responded. In a world weary of performances, authenticity remains the hardest yet most cherished thing. For once, it wasn't tradition that won hearts, it was truth. Now, after years of being called controversial, divisive, and unnecessary, she departed with grace, dignity, and a tear that said more than words ever could. That night, royal staff saw her hand William a small locket, a family heirloom she'd kept hidden for years. She gently pressed it into his palm and whispered, "For guidance whenever you need it." In that quiet exchange, a lifetime of misunderstanding seemed to soften, if only for a moment. He nodded. No words were needed. The moment transcended a mere transfer of the crown. As Camilla gazed out the palace window one last time that evening, her reflection was barely visible in the glass. She smiled, not the forced smile of a queen, but the gentle smile of a woman who had given her all and finally found peace. It was the kind of peace that only comes after weathering years of storms in silence. The message was unmistakable. This was not just a coronation. It was a continuation, built on respect, not merely legacy. William spoke of duty, youth, unity, but above all, family, not as an ideal, but as something living, complex, evolving. He described Charles's reign as a bridge of transition and vowed his own would build upon it with the support of all those by his side. His words reflected not just a promise to the nation, but a personal commitment shaped by everything he had lived through. William concluded his speech, not with royal decree, but with warmth. "To my father, my mother, and my people, I am here to serve humbly, fully, and together." Applause erupted instantly, but more powerful were the silent tears of those watching from homes, offices, and phones. It wasn't just a speech, it was a declaration of leadership from the heart. Formal roles had been reshaped. In that moment, the crown felt less like a symbol of power and more like a promise of connection. The new king stood before the nation not as a prince, not as a son, but as King William. The scene was familiar: golden curtains, marble columns, and a silent room. But the voice that filled the space was fresh, resolute, clear, and human. He didn't begin with policy or tradition, but with a name. And with that name, he reminded everyone of the legacy that shaped him and the future he hoped to create. First, I wish to thank Queen Camilla. The room held its breath. William looked directly into the camera, restraining emotion but radiating sincerity. Her unwavering support, her love for my father, and her quiet strength have upheld this family. And now, as we turn to a new chapter, her wisdom and grace will remain part of my guidance. His words carried not just appreciation, but a bridge between generations, a recognition of all she had endured and given. With William's ascension and Charles now stepping back, the palace released an official statement. Queen Camilla would now hold the title of Queen Consort Emerita. It was a profound honor, rich with meaning. A recognition of her role, her years of service, and the quiet sacrifices she had made. She would no longer attend weekly engagements or international tours, but she would continue her work behind the scenes through the charities closest to her heart: literacy programs, animal welfare, and support for abuse survivors. These were causes she had championed not for attention, but as a path toward healing. William asked her to continue her mission, though, in a new and more personal way. He wanted her influence to be lasting, not echoed in applause, but felt in lives changed. Charles stepped back with quiet dignity. No scandals, no public outcry, just a father gracefully retiring, ready to let the next generation take the lead. A statement from the palace confirmed that he would remain available to offer guidance when needed, but he would no longer take the reins. It was a peaceful transition, one that reflected wisdom more than retreat. Royal biographers called it the final chapter in her journey of redemption, a moment when the nation and the world recognized that the woman once labeled a homewrecker had in fact shaped the monarchy with humility, dignity, and love. Commentators from all sides, both supporters and skeptics, could no longer deny what had just unfolded. It was a turning point that reframed her legacy. We didn't expect emotion. We didn't expect humanity. But it came, and it made the crown feel real again, a broadcaster said during a panel recap. Social media, usually a battleground of opposing views, was flooded with messages of support and admiration. Artists began sketching portraits capturing Camilla's emotional moment, while fan-made videos blended images from her younger days with scenes from the ceremony set to soft, moving music. The tributes came pouring in. People didn't just admire her. They finally began to understand her. Yet dissenting voices still lingered, questioning whether a moment of vulnerability could genuinely soften an institution they viewed as outdated. But even among the harshest critics, there was a noticeable pause. Camilla's emotional moment didn't necessarily change their opinions, but it undeniably softened their tone. And so, for the first time in recent memory, the monarchy transitioned not with scandal, but with dignity. The message from Buckingham Palace was unmistakable. While the crown may pass from one generation to the next, honor and compassion remain. The public and media reflected that sentiment. By the next morning, headlines around the world struck a rare chord of unity. From tabloids to major newspapers, from morning talk shows to late-night panels, the tone was unexpectedly consistent. Something remarkable had just taken place, not just a change in leadership, but a rare moment of genuine human connection within one of the world's most tradition-bound institutions. Camilla's tears, caught in a single unforgettable frame and replayed countless times, were hailed as one of the most powerful royal images of the century. Polls released that evening showed a surprising surge in support for the monarchy, especially among younger generations. The reason: authenticity. For the first time in years, the royal family didn't feel like a distant institution, but a family navigating life change and legacy together. Many compared the moment to Queen Victoria's public funeral or Queen Elizabeth II's rare personal reflections. But this moment, Camilla's tear, Charles's embrace, William's bow, was something else entirely. It wasn't just symbolic, it was emotional currency. And the monarchy, often guarded and scripted, finally earned something real. The message was clear: the crown endures, but it's the humanity behind it that keeps its heartbeat alive. They were told what had happened in words they could understand. Grandpa passed on the crown. Daddy's king now. Charlotte asked if that meant he had homework. Everyone laughed. That simple moment became part of the family's peace, a reminder of childhood innocence and lightheartedness. In a quiet private moment captured in a clip, never meant for public release, but gently shared by a palace insider, Harry, had he been there, stood beside William and Camilla. He didn't speak much, but he reached out his hand to Camilla, who accepted it without hesitation. That simple, brief handshake carried more weight than any official statement ever could. It was a sign of a family trying to heal in its own way. Away from the crowds and media frenzy, the royal family gathered in a cozy dining room inside Buckingham Palace. While the throne room holds centuries of history, this warm, candlelit space filled with quiet conversation felt truly like family. Catherine gently guided Queen Camilla to her seat with a tender touch. No titles, no cameras, just two women who had traveled different roads, but now sat together at the same table. Catherine whispered something lightly, touching Camilla's hand, and they shared a warm, genuine smile. Earlier, George and Charlotte, dressed neatly yet comfortably, peeked shyly from behind velvet curtains and waved to the few onlookers. That evening, the family gathered for a private toast. Charles raised his glass, his hand slightly trembling, and said, "To love in all its forms and the courage it takes to pass it on." They drank together. Camilla smiled through misty eyes, and William looked at her with a quiet sense of peace. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't a fairy tale, but for a family often divided by protocol and pressure, it was something rare, a moment of unity across generations beyond wounds and change. Their faces were calm and resolute, carrying the quiet weight of the day, just a little older than that morning. But the image that stayed with everyone the longest was Camilla reaching out to clasp William's hand. Not for the cameras, not for show, just two souls silently acknowledging all that had passed between them, a crown, a title, and a shared burden of duty. As the screen faded to black, a voice softly closed the chapter. She stepped into history beside him, then retreated with grace, leaving behind not just a question of lineage, but a deeper question of legacy. Did this moment redefine what it truly means to be a queen? Was Camilla's quiet vulnerability more powerful than all the royal ceremonies combined? And in the end, isn't love soft, steadfast, and often silent stronger than legacy itself? In that dining room, they were no longer kings or heirs, just a family, beginning anew, closing a chapter filled with reflection and unspoken questions. The final scenes of this extraordinary day unfolded like a silent film. Buckingham's once bustling corridors dimmed to stillness. A royal car carried Charles and Camilla away from the palace, their hands quietly clasped in the back seat. Meanwhile, William stood by the gate with Catherine waving softly to the lingering crowd. We'd love to hear what you think. Share your thoughts in the comments below, subscribe for more royal insights, and don't forget to follow as history continues to unfold. As the crown passed hands, a single tear told the story. Camilla stepped back with grace, Charles left with dignity, and William moved forward with purpose. It wasn't just a ceremony, it was a farewell, a new beginning, and a bridge between eras. That moment changed everything. They say the past never truly stays buried, and Queen Camilla is now facing the consequences of secrets she hoped would stay hidden. In a dramatic twist, she broke down in tears after allegedly being discovered tampering with personal letters belonging to Princess Diana. The emotional scene has sparked a media frenzy fueling speculation and renewed scrutiny of the royal family's inner struggles. Let's unpack the full story behind this startling revelation right now. What's next for Queen Camilla, now that she's allegedly been caught destroying Princess Diana's letters? Will she face backlash or try to stay silent? Have you been following this drama? If you have, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, hit us with a 0. And hey, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button to stay in the loop. At just 20 years old, Diana Spencer stepped into the royal world with dreams as grand as the palace itself. She never could have foreseen that her fairy tale would turn into a heartbreaking saga known around the globe. When she said yes to Prince Charles's proposal, Diana truly believed that love would be her greatest protection. But hidden behind Charles's distant smile was a presence that never faded: Camilla Parker Bowles, the woman from his past, who never really let go. As Diana did her best to be a devoted princess, a loving wife, and a gentle mother, Camilla quietly remained in whispered phone calls, tender glances, and the emotional distance Charles brought home every evening. With the pure heart of a young girl, Diana gradually realized that she was not just Charles's wife. She was the third party in her own marriage, and from that moment a silent war began between a suffering young woman and a more seasoned woman. This battle not only took away Diana's youth and trust, but also buried the dream of a fairy tale royal life she had once longed for. Although fully aware of the unusual relationship between Prince Charles and Camilla, Diana chose not to expose the scandal or make everything public. She didn't do this out of weakness or fear, but because Diana still believed in second chances, believing that Charles would return to her. She held on to the hope that what they once had could be salvaged. But love cannot be sustained from one side alone, and loyalty, when nurtured by just one person, will eventually collapse under the weight of betrayal. Diana didn't scream, but she wrote. She sent tear-stained letters, not begging, but delivering stern warnings. I know who you are in my story with Charles, and I will not remain a silent victim forever. One of the letters sent to Camilla was rumored to have said, I know what's going on, I'm not stupid. I see how he looks at you. I hear the whispers, but don't forget I am still his wife and I will not leave quietly. These letters caused both Charles and Camilla to worry, but Diana never made them public. Not because she was afraid, but because she wanted to protect the last shred of dignity of the man she once loved. Diana did not let the pain consume her completely. She kept writing each letter a wound, a challenge, a declaration that she would not be erased from her own life, even though she was the third party. One of the final letters she wrote, filled with a hollow tone, said, If one day I disappear, remember that I lived and fought in silence for my children. Though no one knew whether Camilla ever responded to these letters, it was clear they made her uneasy. Diana, despite her pain and struggles, refused to let her life be buried in silence. Diana once confessed, I tried, I loved, I forgave, I endured, but I was never blind. These words now echo like a prophecy, resonating long after Diana's tragic death in the car accident that shook the world. Her voice has fallen silent, but her letters remain standing as vivid proof of a woman who fought quietly, resiliently, with an immense sense of dignity. But what if I told you that Queen Camilla was caught in the act of something suspicious? She was destroying the final handwritten letters of Princess Diana. The flames in the palace fireplace consumed a silk ribbon, briefly revealing Diana's unmistakable handwriting, and then all that remained was ash. A royal assistant stepped in and everything changed. Camilla, cold and alone, was still in the room holding a bundle of old letters tied with a pale blue silk ribbon. The room carried a faint scent of lavender, but there was something else, the smell of smoke. Only a few minutes later, the flames licked at the pages, curling them up and blackening them. The paramedic only caught a brief glimpse, but it was enough to recognize the unmistakable scrawl of Diana's handwriting. A fleeting signature symbolic of her, and then it all vanished into ash. No one spoke, and then Camilla whispered something, but her gaze filled with guilt and sorrow made everyone stop. That night, whispers began to rise throughout the halls. One voice cut through the crowd. Queen Camilla just erased Diana's final truth. Those letters had been stored within the palace, but now they were destroyed. Why and who had ordered this silence? The answers remain unclear. The public was in an uproar, and the memory of Diana may never be the same again. Believed to have been written between 1990 and 1997, these letters were deeply personal and informal. They came from Diana's heart, not scripted, but rather her true thoughts and emotions, shared only with her closest confidants. Some of the letters contained Diana's pain as she felt abandoned, increasingly fearful of losing her son to a system she didn't trust. One line rumored to be among them reads, "They are shaping William in their image, not mine." Another letter is said to have expressed Diana's fear that history would be rewritten without her voice. These letters might also contain hints hidden audio recordings that have never been made public. One document is believed to include a direct warning from Diana stating, "Until my voice is forgotten." Many believe she was alluding to Camilla in those words. The tension surrounding Diana's private writings is now clear, and we can't help but wonder, why were these letters never given to William and Harry? Who caught Camilla in the act of destroying these letters, and who exactly uncovered the truth? A palace assistant tasked with retrieving Queen Elizabeth's memorial diary returned to Camilla's office early. The door was unusually ajar, and the strange foul odor from a jar changed everything. Something much larger was being concealed, and the truth could be darker than we imagined. Strange smoke billowed in the air as Camilla stood frozen, holding a few torn envelopes and a half-burnt letter. She quickly jolted defensively, as if caught in the act. Her face was pale, her voice low, and it said that she murmured, "This is not what it looks like." But the damage was undeniably clear. The ash still smoldered in the fireplace. The assistant didn't ask anything more. They simply left in silence. Within 48 hours, they were transferred to Balmoral without notice, stripped of palace access, and given no explanation. They just disappeared. Sources close to the royal family suggest that this transfer wasn't accidental, but an order from very high up. But the question remains, why was this to protect Camilla, or to safeguard what was in those letters? Camilla didn't sign the transfer papers, but everyone knew that the decision came from the highest authority. Questions swirl around why Camilla burned those letters, why now, and whether this was an act of closing the past or a political move to bury the truth. If anyone within the palace knew about this, they may have silently allowed the act, or worse, they could have been behind it. Diana's voice still looms, even after her death in 1997. Her voice never truly faded. From interviews to secret tapes, she left behind echoes that never ceased to resound. But it is the private, painfully honest, handwritten letters that many believe hold the untold truth. Those letters were said to have revealed Diana's fear that her story would be distorted after her passing. She expressed concerns about how Charles' inner circle had reshaped her image even while she was still alive. Diana called it a palace rewrite, a place that could one day erase her role, both as a mother and as the woman she feared the most. She worried that William and Harry would be exploited within a system she didn't trust. Another letter is believed to have confirmed these fears about history being rewritten without her voice. Some of the letters even highlighted how deeply William felt her pain, and Diana feared that one day their relationship would be severed. Diana was never afraid to challenge the institution, and even in her letters, she warned about the royal establishment's desire for control. One quote remains locked behind closed doors: "I am the complexity they cannot control." She wrote that she wanted to be remembered, not misrepresented. If those words were preserved, they could become Diana's final statement. But if they were destroyed, who would benefit from hiding this truth? One question still lingers. Is this a personal matter for Camilla, or a larger political move? Camilla has always walked a fine line within the royal family, from mistress to queen consort. Her path has been marked by public disdain and private strategies. When rumors emerged that she had destroyed Diana's letters, many wondered if this was her final attempt to silence the past. Royal sources claim that Camilla has long felt haunted by Diana's presence, not only in portraits or media articles, but also in Charles's memory. He had never truly let her go. An insider shared, the letters could represent much more than words. They could be ghosts she couldn't escape from. Others suggest that Camilla's motives might be far more calculated. If the letters painted a dark picture of Camilla or revealed the truth about Charles's behavior in their marriage, it could skew public perception, especially now that Camilla has solidified her role as queen. One source claimed that she feared a loud narrative war and took action, but it's unclear whether Charles was involved or if he simply turned a blind eye to what was happening. Some believe he knew about the letters but couldn't face what they revealed, fearing the damage not just to himself, but to the entire royal institution. Those observing within the palace couldn't help but wonder whether this was an emotional breakdown or a carefully calculated move. If it was a strategy, who else knew about it? The way silence gradually enveloped the palace now speaks volumes more than ever. People began to fear the royal family, with anxiety spreading quickly. After the firefighters began whispering cautiously, the palace doors were bolted even tighter, and questions about the fire were swiftly dismissed. Most notably, staff were warned not to mention those letters for the sake of the crown. A palace insider revealed that a separate fire report had been submitted. The inspector noted that unusual materials, neither wood nor kindling, but wax-sealed parchment and leftover ribbons were found. This isn't just someone burning notes. He is said to have remarked, "This is a deliberate act." Charles, reportedly shocked, but instead of confronting Camilla directly, withdrew. Some engagements were canceled, and the source claims he told his assistant, "It's over. Let's move on. No investigation, no accountability, just silence." Then the higher courts tried to prevent the story from spreading. They feared that public trust would collapse, but the news quickly spread. One question echoed through the old stone corridors of the palace. Who saw the letters before they were burned? It was this cover-up, not the fire, that they feared. If this scandal was being concealed to protect the monarchy, what else could be buried next? So as all efforts to conceal the truth seem powerless against its spreading, the big question still remains unanswered. Who was truly behind the destruction of these letters? Will more dark secrets stay hidden, or will they eventually be exposed to the light? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe to stay updated on the next developments. This story is far from over, and we'll continue to follow it closely. When the news reached Althorp Diana's ancestral home, it didn't come through an official palace statement, but rather through whispers passed from one assistant to another. The Spencer family's outrage was impossible to contain. Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, immediately reacted with intense anger. Family sources revealed that Earl Spencer was furious, asserting that the letters were not the property of the royal family, but of Diana, and were an emotional heirloom for the family. They were not political artifacts. It didn't take long for the Spencer family to launch their own audit at Althorp. Every letter, photograph, and private recording Diana had entrusted to her family was now under intense scrutiny. A cousin is said to have remarked, "If they can burn her truth, then they can erase anything else." Behind the silence from the palace, there was no apology, no explanation, only smoke echoes and silence. It was this that transformed pain into outrage. A Spencer relative said, "We trusted them, we were wrong. This is not just destruction, it's betrayal." Charles Spencer is said to have told a close friend that if the monarchy believed Diana's story had ended with just one fire, they might have miscalculated. Now Diana's bloodline demands answers. The question still hangs in the air: did William and Harry know about the letters before they were destroyed? The answer, according to insiders, is heartbreaking. They weren't even warned. William is said to have known about the existence of the letters, but he couldn't bear to learn from an assistant that he had never read them. The intense pain came from the fact that those writings were part of his mother's memory. To learn that they had been burned without his knowledge was a crushing blow. Harry's reaction was much more intense, distancing himself from the royal family. He often spoke of Diana's letters as the only way she could communicate with them. It's reported that Harry was furious, feeling betrayed once again. Neither of the two sons was informed in advance, no calls, no messages, only silence. And now, with the truth still smoldering in the ashes, both brothers are faced with a painful choice. Harry has always stood between two worlds, one with family and the crown, the other with his feelings for his mother. The pressure to protect the crown, especially with William, the future king, weighs heavily on him. The gloves may have been removed, and she wrote those things for us. Now they are lost, and we no longer have a voice. Prince Harry's close friend relationships with Charles and Camilla have become severely fractured. All of this seems to point to someone long forgotten, a woman who once protected those letters, Edith Travers. Edith Travers was the royal archivist dedicated to cataloging Diana's letters for over a decade. She was the protector of those letters' secrets, working under strict confidentiality. However, when she suddenly retired without a farewell, concerns about changes within the palace began to emerge. Particularly when Camilla requested private access to Diana's archive, Edith opposed, and then she vanished. Even more unsettling was the last email she sent to a former colleague. "Be careful, Diana's truth is in danger. They are not protecting her memory, they are erasing it." After retiring, Edith declined all interviews, and her house in Wiltshire fell silent with no one able to reach her. The curtains were always drawn and calls went unanswered. Did Edith know something? Did she suspect that someone had planned to destroy the letters, or was she pushed out to make things easier? Regardless, one thing was clear. She believed something was about to happen, and she didn't trust that the palace would stop it. She had warned them, but they ignored her. And if Edith Travers held a copy or had knowledge of a second archive, the palace might not have destroyed everything. This makes her the key to what is about to unfold. If one letter still exists, it could shed light on everything. The public's reaction was intense. Anger, sorrow, and suspicion spread rapidly. When news of the letters leaked, hashtags like #eJustice for Diana and "When Letters Not Ash" began to explode across social media platforms. TikTok and Reddit users started dissecting interviews, and discussions about conspiracies and timelines continued non-stop. Candles at Kensington Palace began to flicker as the public not only mourned Diana, but also grieved the truth they felt had been stolen from them. Royal watchers and historians couldn't contain their emotions. One television commentator called it an act of historical sabotage, while another wrote, "Camilla has turned the fireplace into a symbol of fear." Emotional tributes flooded in, with some people even admitting they weren't alive when Diana passed. Her story continued to shake the world. Petitions began collecting over 500,000 signatures in just 3 days, demanding transparency and a full investigation. People wanted all remaining letters to be made public. Protesters appeared outside Buckingham Palace holding signs that read, "Her truth deserves more than a memorial fire." Royal groups also planned marches and public readings of Diana's surviving words. Against this backdrop, trust in the monarchy fractured even further. This was not just a public issue, but a major crisis. Diana represented compassion, rebellion, and honesty. If her final words were erased, what message would that send? Diana spoke from the heart, and now they wanted her silent. Those attending the prayer vigil at Kensington, while people cried out for answers, found one man silent. His silence might speak more than words ever could. Was Charles protecting Camilla, or was it Charles himself who was keeping quiet? Charles's public appearances have always been rare, and he never directly faces the press. There is even no information about his sons. Behind that silence is a storm of speculation. People wonder, what does his silence really mean? Within the palace walls, there are whispers that Charles is deeply conflicted. He is not just a king, but also a husband, a father, and especially a man who once called Diana the love of his life. Yet when it comes time to protect her memory, he remains silent. Some believe Charles is protecting Camilla out of loyalty, while others think he feels guilty. Those close to Charles say the atmosphere within the family is extremely tense. William is said to have distanced himself, even canceling several private meetings with his father. Meanwhile, Harry, with his anger and detachment, is reportedly considering a public statement. He wants to protect the truth. An insider revealed that while Charles didn't order the destruction of the letters, he also didn't prevent it from happening. His failure to act could cost him more than public support. It could tear apart the unity within his own family. Charles has faced an important choice: to speak out in defense of Diana or remain silent, and he chose silence. The palace is now in full damage control mode, with press staff working overtime and lawyers standing by behind closed doors. New public relations strategies are being drafted, one of which includes a neutral and carefully worded public statement devoid of emotion. Another plan even suggests putting William forward to help quell the rising storm. However, insiders warn that William will not lie no matter the reason. While Charles's silence has caused a rift between him and the heirs, the question remains, are there more of Diana's letters? Diana was known to be very cautious, often copying her sensitive writings under legal advice. She had backup copies of some letters and sent them to trusted allies abroad. Another collection is rumored to be stored in a safe in Switzerland under a false name. A batch may have even been handed over to her personal lawyer, who retired in the early 2000s. Rumors about the final letter Diana wrote just days before her fateful trip to Paris have drawn significant attention. A royal historian has claimed to have seen a copy of this letter. Not only emotional, but the letter also carries political weight. Diana named specific individuals and connected various events. If this letter is authentic, it could change royal history. The question now is someone holding on to it? And if so, how much longer until the world sees it? This is a surprising truth. Insiders suggest that a royal family member may have quietly sought out those letters, unsure whether to destroy them or make them public. The firestorm may have silenced one voice, but not all of them. A former royal reporter believes the truth hasn't completely vanished, it's just waiting to rise from the ashes. Diana's legacy is once again at the forefront, but this time, it's not just in memories, documentaries, or charitable foundations. This time, it's on the battlefield of truth, confronting memory and facing the monarchy. At the center of the firestorm stands Queen Camilla, her image unraveling under the weight of actions that could haunt the crown for generations. Royal insiders say the palace is working to control the damage. Despite Camilla's plummeting approval ratings and increasingly harsh headlines about her, the palace remains silent, hoping the noise will eventually die down. However, Diana's voice proves difficult to silence, and the question now is, what will those closest to Charles do? Some speculate that he is preparing a quiet memorial, while others quietly wonder if Charles might be holding on to a personal collection of letters he has yet to read. One day he might share everything he knows. One day he might speak out, expressing his sorrow for the second time, but this time for Diana's voice. Those within the royal family close to Prince William and the monarchy itself, in an era where institutions are collapsing and the public is awakening, will have to make a decision: silence or accountability. For the millions who loved Diana across the world, only one question remains, echoing louder than any royal statement. Why was Diana's voice treated as a threat? The letters may have vanished, but the fire they sparked continues to rage. Public trust is slowly eroding. The royal family now faces a major crisis. Although Diana's voice was silenced by the flames, it refuses to be quieted. Will the truth ever be revealed? And if the dark conspiracies Camilla once concealed in the shadows of the palace are brought into the light, how will the world react? Will the crown remain on Camilla's head, or will it become a symbol of betrayal and manipulation, marking a dark chapter in the history of the British monarchy? No one can forever conceal the darkness under the light of justice. Camilla ascended the throne not through the love of the people, but via a controversial path built on the pain of another woman, Princess Diana. If the missing documents, confessions, or recordings that Diana is believed to have left behind truly exist, could the day when Camilla loses everything come sooner than she expects? Not just the crown, but her reputation, respect, and place in the hearts of the British people will be at risk. The question remains, will the public forgive Camilla? Will history view her with sympathy, or will Camilla become a living symbol of an era where lies and temporary power triumphed over truth? Only time and William can answer this question. But one thing is certain: if the truth comes to light, the shockwave it causes will not only shake Buckingham Palace, but also rewrite the legacy of a woman once seen as a replacement, but who was never truly a queen in the hearts of the people. So just when everything seemed to be settling down, a bombshell, truth explodes, forcing the entire royal family to face questions with no clear answers. Will this incident plunge Camilla into an even bigger crisis? And will the public show mercy or criticize her for her past actions? Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on the next developments. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this shocking event? We'll see you in the next video. Make sure to stay tuned. Princess Anne has just revealed King Charles's final wish, and what happened next left Prince William and Prince Harry completely stunned. This wasn't just a regular royal announcement. It was a turning point that took place behind closed doors at Windsor Castle. In a room filled with tension, Anne stood up and delivered an unexpected message that could shake the very foundation of the royal family. What exactly did King Charles request, and why did it leave his two sons so deeply shocked? If you think this moment changed everything, comment 1. If you're still surprised or unsure about it, leave a 0. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now enjoy the video, and if you love these royal stories filled with mystery and emotion, don't forget to subscribe to support the channel. Recent reports have revealed an escalating conflict between Prince Harry and King Charles. The king summoned the entire family to Windsor Castle, but instead of addressing the matter directly, he delegated the task to Princess Anne, who was entrusted with delivering a crucial message that could change everything. Meghan was absent, and Harry arrived alone. The atmosphere in the room was tense as old wounds quietly resurfaced. Princess Anne stood up, calm yet resolute, and revealed the king's final wish, something none of them had been emotionally prepared for. What followed wasn't just a shock, it was an emotional collapse. William stood frozen, stunned by the sudden weight now placed on his shoulders. As for Harry, already estranged from the family, he felt every possible exit slowly closing in on him. Voices grew sharp, tension filled the room, and at that moment an undeniable truth emerged. Everything was about to change forever. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of an unexpected turning point, elevating the conflict to a new level. As Princess Anne rose, tension permeated the room. Those who had previously criticized the royal family would be silenced by this moment. There was no ceremony, no embellishment, just a chilling truth that shook long-standing traditions. Anne, as the only person King Charles trusted, spoke not merely as a princess, but as the one tasked with delivering a message that could permanently reshape the future of the royal family. That moment wasn't just a transfer of power, it was a monumental test for every family member. With each word spoken, long-hidden fears and conflicts surged. And no matter how anyone reacted, one thing was certain: this change was irreversible. There was no going back for anyone. Do you think William is ready to take on this responsibility, or should it fall to someone else? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to know who you think should take the lead in this sensitive time. And what about Harry? After everything that has happened between him and the family, do you think he still has a chance to come back, or are all doors truly closed? Comment, still a chance, if you believe in reconciliation, or hopeless if you think it's too late for that. What Princess Anne revealed wasn't just a statement, it was a verdict. King Charles, despite his health weakened by illness, maintained a clear awareness of the throne's fragility, making a vital decision. His choice didn't stem from emotion or favoritism, but from a deep understanding of the challenges the monarchy had faced for decades: divorces, scandals, and serious accusations. He knew that for the dynasty to survive, the next step wasn't merely about maintaining peace. It required a clear vision and strategy to overcome difficulties and restore the royal family's prestige. And he chose Anne, not William, not Camilla, and not the royal advisors, but Anne. Because in a family where the truth was always hidden, she was the only one who never tried to evade it. Her words seemed gentle, but they carried a ruthless weight. King Charles's final wish wasn't to hand everything over to William as many had assumed. The story of a future king inheriting all now seemed too predictable, too old-fashioned. Charles's decision defied all expectations, creating a massive shift and opening an unexpected new chapter in royal history. Instead, the king outlined a strategic plan, a division of influence, roles, and responsibilities that transcended all ties of blood and title. William remained the heir to the throne. That was unchanged. However, Charles chose a broader vision. He clearly saw the fractured relationships, public speculation, and echoes of history to forge a new path, a path that would not only protect the monarchy, but also potentially end the long-standing chain of tragedies devastating the royal family, bringing lasting hope and harmony. For Harry, this decision was a profound shock. It didn't erase him, but it also didn't restore his former status. He was placed in a position unprecedented in royal history, acknowledged yet always out of reach. Succession was now not just about assets, but about influence and standing about who would be remembered as the future of the monarchy and who would become a discordant, faded footnote in the flow of history. Anne stressed that this decision wasn't born from personal hatred or resentment. It was made for the survival and stability of the monarchy. In that room laden with historical weight, she announced her brother's verdict not just for his two sons, but for the future of the entire royal family. Her straightforwardness, once deemed too harsh, now became the only weapon capable of cutting through the layers of tension and conflict that had accumulated over time. As the initial shock subsided, fear surged. If Charles had made such a decision discreet yet symbolic, something far greater must have compelled him. Behind the king's bold choice lay a deeper story rooted in historical events and unhealed wounds. To understand his final wish, we must return to the past, to moments when the monarchy's fate was decided by unexpected turning points. If you're interested in inside stories from the royal family, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss fascinating videos about untold secrets and hidden corners of the royal palace. Charles's path to the throne was never a given, but rather the result of silent sacrifices, challenging scandals, and the heavy duty he always bore without complaint. Everything began with a decision that shook the monarchy nearly a century ago when Edward VIII abdicated for love. This decision wasn't just a personal turning point, it created a domino effect completely altering the fate and form of the British royal family, opening up paths no one could have predicted. Edward's younger brother, George VI, reluctantly ascended the throne, shouldering immense responsibilities only for his early death to force a young, unprepared girl to become Queen Elizabeth II. She went on to have the longest reign in British history and became a symbol of stability, a steadfast role model for subsequent royal generations, including her son, Charles. From a young age, Charles witnessed his mother bear that monumental burden, and he also felt the loneliness, sacrifice, and silent pain that responsibility brought. For him, destiny wasn't a romantic tale or a myth, but a harsh, cold, and challenging reality. The moment for Charles to ascend the throne seemed to take forever, as the world around him constantly changed, and he remained under intense public scrutiny, every action and word examined. But finally, that moment arrived against a backdrop of a fractured monarchy, a divided family, and eroding public trust. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in 2022, Charles not only lost his beloved mother, but also the last symbol of stability within the royal family. Immediately after his ascension, he faced a cancer diagnosis, making time, which he had always considered an invaluable asset, limited and filled with anxiety. He was no longer a prince with an open future, but a king burdened with historical responsibility, needing to act swiftly and skillfully to avoid repeating the chaos of the past. In that tense and high-pressure environment, Charles faced unprecedented challenges. He had to simultaneously maintain the image of a steady leader in public while also managing internal conflicts and protecting the monarchy's reputation amid an incessant media onslaught. He clearly understood that the throne wasn't just a symbol of power, but also a heavy burden of responsibility demanding innovation and adaptability to ensure the monarchy's survival in the 21st century. Charles was forced to find a balance between preserving tradition and embracing modernity, between royal solemnity and public accessibility, aiming to forge a royal image that was not only respected, but also approachable, beloved, and understood in this new era. Now, every decision isn't just about protecting William. It's about safeguarding the very essence of the monarchy itself. Charles began making choices not based on tradition, but on survival, personal, emotionally charged, and incredibly bold strategies. His final wish wasn't designed to follow the mold, but to break it, even if that meant sacrificing himself to save the monarchy. Because the king had lived long enough to understand that the past wasn't a script to be replayed, but a warning that needed to be rewritten. As King Charles's reign slowly counts down, a new chapter is quietly forming behind closed doors. While the world watches him, another force is silently rising beside him, ready to change everything. In the twilight of a king's final years, a new foundation is quietly, deliberately, and irreversibly being laid. William and Kate, once seen as the epitome of a modern royal romance, are now stepping into the most pivotal roles of their lives. Not through grand pronouncements, but through responsibilities quietly transferred behind palace doors. With every public appearance, every diplomatic meeting, every royal duty, they're not just representing the crown. They are preparing to inherit and bear its weight. Even before Charles's illness forced everyone to confront reality, this transfer of power had already quietly begun. Especially Kate, who has gradually moved into the very center of royal life. Not because she was asked to, but because the monarchy needed her to step up. Even before the shocking cancer diagnosis rattled the royals, Kate had begun taking on greater responsibilities, attending events solo, quietly, spearheading important projects, hosting international dignitaries, always maintaining the demeanor of a future queen. Unlike those who previously resisted royal expectations, Kate never backed down. She adapted, grew through each challenge, and earned respect not only from the public but also from the royal family itself. Behind the scenes, Operation Menai Bridge, the code name for King Charles's succession plan, has been in motion for a long time. This plan meticulously outlines every step the royal family will take the moment Charles passes away or abdicates, from informing the Prime Minister and lowering flags to transferring the king's body to Westminster Abbey. Every detail is carefully rehearsed like a precise dance, preparing for a perfect and seamless transfer of power. However, some things can't be rehearsed emotions, and the weight of the legacy the next generation must bear. For William and Kate, that moment is no longer distant. It's drawing closer every day. What the public sees is perfection, but behind that surface are immense sacrifices. Kate's world may have shrunk in terms of personal space, but it has expanded in stature. Although her schedule revolves around royal duties, her heart remains with her children. She has to find a way to balance being a mother, a wife, a public figure, and a queen in training. Yet she maintains her composure to the extent that she was once directly praised by Queen Elizabeth. And now that composure isn't just a cherished quality, it's essential for facing the future ahead. When the inevitable happens, when Charles no longer holds the throne, public attention won't just converge on William, but on Kate as well. Although William has been prepared for years to be king, he now faces the reality of his father reigning under declining health. This forces him to prepare sooner, become more decisive, and shoulder far heavier responsibilities than he ever imagined. William no longer has the luxury of waiting decades as his father did. The monarchy demands immediate succession with great strength and adaptability. This pressure now rests on his shoulders, while a brother still watches from afar and perhaps won't remain silent for much longer. Prince Harry, despite living thousands of miles away in another country, couldn't avoid being pulled back into the heart of the royal family's upheavals, especially after the king's crucial final decisions. For years, Harry had tried to build a private life, seeking personal freedom separate from the spotlight of the throne he was born into. He chose to live authentically and find peace rather than remain tied to the titles and lavish life that royalty offered. However, no matter how much Harry tried to distance himself and live life on his own terms, the royal system relentlessly pulled him back. The weight of tradition and family duty, like an invisible tether, constantly drew him in, forcing Harry to confront difficult challenges and choices. Internal conflicts, public scrutiny, and external pressures ceaselessly converged on him, placing him in a position no one in the royal family could entirely escape. Even so, Harry has held firm to his own resolve, and will striving to find a balance between family affection and personal freedom between past and future. His story is a vivid testament to the ongoing conflicts within a modern royal family, where personal liberty sometimes comes at the cost of heavy responsibility and duty. Harry isn't just a member of the royal family, he's also a symbol of the struggle between tradition and change, between public scrutiny and a challenging private life. Now, with King Charles's health declining and the royal machinery silently shifting, Harry finds himself trapped between two identities, a brother who walked away and a brother who can never fully escape. As Charles's final decisions begin to impact the entire family, all eyes turn to the Duke of Sussex, wondering if he will return to the eye of the storm or if he will be the one to ignite it. His relationship with the royal family continues to fracture irreparably. While the public still hears declarations of love and respect, what unfolds behind closed doors tells a different story, one of darkness and tension. Prince Harry and Prince William haven't truly spoken for years, with wounds unhealed since Meghan joined the family, the dramatic royal exit, and the explosive Oprah interview. These conflicts have never mended, and Harry's memoir Spare, with its deep and unforgiving criticisms, made reconciliation almost impossible. However, few know that Spare isn't the whole story. A source close to Harry reveals that a second manuscript exists longer and containing many previously unreleased revelations. This draft remains under wraps, much like Harry himself, awaiting the opportune moment to bring it to light. Now, as King Charles quietly battles illness, and William gradually prepares to ascend the throne, speculation about Harry continuing to observe and chronicle his life grows stronger. Within royal circles, many believe a second memoir will soon be released, promising new and deeper insights into untold stories. Its launch could once again shake the royal family, while also opening dramatic new chapters in the story the entire world is following. This time the book will be released after Charles's death, and unlike Spare, it won't be overshadowed by grief. Instead, it will be sharp, uninhibited, and potentially lead to irreversible consequences. However, Harry remains hesitant, hoping for a chance at reconciliation, but if that doesn't materialize, could he ever return to royal life under William's reign? This is the question echoing within the royal family, and one that no one can answer right now. Legally, Harry is still a prince by blood, but titles now mean nothing when trust is shattered. For William, Harry's actions have crossed a point of no return, and upon ascending the throne, William will have the power to define his position, or perhaps no place at all. Some still believe there's hope if Harry makes the first move, but many others warn that it's too late, as every interview and minor action by Harry only pushes him further away from the royal family. The big question is whether Harry will return or burn the final bridge. The answer doesn't just depend on Harry's wishes, but on William's judgment. The next chapter of the monarchy is no longer being written based on Charles's compassion, but is slowly being shaped in William's shadow, the one preparing to step into true leadership. According to inside sources, William's first move might be to fully strip Harry and Meghan of their HRH titles, with no half-measures ambiguity or leniency. The crown isn't just a title, it's power, and William seems ready to wield it. As the Prince of Wales, William undertakes a range of crucial diplomatic and royal duties. His responsibilities include traveling globally as a representative of the royal family, attending formal events on behalf of the Queen, and engaging in charitable work to support communities. He also participates in ceremonial and symbolic royal activities, from hosting elaborate banquets to representing the British government in other nations. With each assignment, William demonstrates himself not only as an active royal, but also as a dedicated individual always ready to contribute to the monarchy's development and prosperity. For example, during their visit to Caribbean nations in spring 2020, William and Kate received a warm public welcome. However, the trip wasn't without its challenges, including criticism from Jamaica's Prime Minister regarding the Queen's role as head of state, along with protests in Belize that altered the royal itinerary. Despite these hurdles, William and Kate left a strong impression due to their steady presence and sense of duty throughout the trip, demonstrating dedication and professionalism even in difficult circumstances. On May 6, 2023, William participated in King Charles's coronation, where he knelt and pledged allegiance to his father. Should King Charles become unable to perform his duties, William as heir would assume the role of regent. While he wouldn't have the power to alter the line of succession, the regency would allow William to carry out most of the monarch's responsibilities, including diplomatic obligations and crucial decisions concerning the nation and the royal family. William and Catherine have always been warmly welcomed on their international visits. In 2011, Canada was their first destination after the wedding, including stops in Ottawa, Quebec, Prince Edward Island, and Alberta. The visit strengthened the close relationship between Canada and the United Kingdom, featuring events such as Canada Day celebrations and tours of local communities. In 2012, they embarked on a tour of Southeast Asia and the South Pacific to mark the 60th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, visiting Singapore, Malaysia, the Solomon Islands, and Tuvalu. This trip not only aimed to strengthen diplomatic relations, but also served as an opportunity to explore significant cultural sites, meet with local leaders, and participate in the unique traditional ceremonies of each country. Through this journey, the close ties between the United Kingdom and the countries in the region were highlighted, while also promoting cooperation and mutual understanding across various areas. In 2014, William, Catherine, and their son, Prince George, undertook a tour of Australia and New Zealand. This was Prince George's first international trip, with an itinerary that included the cities of Sydney, Canberra, Wellington, and Auckland. The visit not only aimed to promote charitable organizations, but also helped strengthen the close ties between the countries of the Commonwealth. In 2016, the couple visited India and Bhutan, with notable stops at Kaziranga National Park and the capital city Delhi. During the trip, they met with senior leaders, introduced important conservation initiatives, and participated in traditional festivals celebrating India's rich cultural heritage. In Bhutan, they had a warm meeting with the Bhutanese royal family, strengthening diplomatic ties between the two countries. The journey also reflected their deep respect for culture and the environment as they undertook the trek to Taksang, the famous Tiger's Nest monastery. In an effort to strengthen diplomatic relations in the post-Brexit context, William and Catherine undertook a visit to Germany and Poland in 2017. Their itinerary included the cities of Berlin, Heidelberg, Warsaw, and Gdansk. At each stop, they actively participated in distinctive cultural events, visited important historical sites, and met with government leaders to foster greater cooperation and mutual understanding between the countries. Prince William has long been a powerful advocate for ending homelessness and raising awareness about mental health. Deeply inspired by his late mother, Princess Diana, an icon of compassion and empathy, William has consistently infused these humanitarian values into his work, tirelessly striving to create positive change within communities. The Royal Foundation, established by Prince William and Prince Harry in 2009, stands as a clear testament to William's strong commitment to supporting those facing challenges with mental health and homelessness. The foundation has become a vital platform driving numerous meaningful projects and campaigns aimed at improving lives and raising public awareness about these sensitive issues. One of the foundation's most prominent initiatives is the Heads Together program, launched in 2016 and co-founded by William, Catherine, and Harry. This program not only seeks to eliminate stigma and prejudice surrounding mental health, but also encourages open dialogue, fostering a more compassionate and understanding community. In doing so, it contributes to building a supportive and accepting environment for people struggling with mental health challenges worldwide. Prince William is also keenly aware of the importance of mental health in the workplace and has supported initiatives aimed at improving the emotional well-being of employees. Alongside Catherine and Harry, he helped establish the Shout service in 2019, the UK's first 24/7 crisis text line. Shout provides free and confidential support to anyone in need, becoming a lifeline for those who may feel uncomfortable seeking help through traditional channels. Tackling homelessness is a cause very close to Prince William's heart. He has carried on the legacy of his mother, Princess Diana, who was a patron of the organization Centrepoint and often took her children to visit support centers. William also gained first-hand experience by spending a night sleeping outdoors, witnessing up close the hardships faced by homeless individuals. These experiences have motivated him to actively lead initiatives aimed at helping homeless families and individuals achieve better lives. Centrepoint is a non-profit organization in the UK that supports homeless youth in finding housing, education, and employment. In 2005, Prince William followed in his mother's footsteps by becoming a patron of Centrepoint, demonstrating his commitment to the organization's mission. Additionally, he has contributed to The Passage, a London-based charity that assists homeless people in the city. William and his mother made their first visit to The Passage in 1993. He supports these organizations through financial donations, raising awareness, and participating in charitable programs that provide housing, food, and essential supplies to those experiencing homelessness. Prince William and Prince Harry were once very close, bonded like best friends through shared childhood experiences and the pain of losing their mother. Their relationship was built on a mutual commitment to community service and deep empathy following the death of Princess Diana. However, in recent years, the two brothers have begun to follow separate paths, developing different careers and personal goals, which has led to emotional distance and differences in perspective. After the wedding of Prince William and Duchess Kate, the royal staff and their teams continued to coordinate managing schedules and communications. However, the relationship between the two brothers began to change after Prince Harry married Meghan Markle in 2018. In January 2020, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, senior members of the royal family, announced their plan to step back from royal duties. They decided to reside in California, pursue financial independence, and live a more private life. This decision, often referred to as the Megxit, became a significant milestone in the history of the British royal family. Reports indicate that the Sussexes' move to North America and their stepping back from royal duties caused dissatisfaction and tension within the family. In a widely publicized interview with Oprah Winfrey in March 2021, Harry and Meghan shared the difficulties they faced, including allegations of racism and a lack of support regarding mental health issues. Some of Harry's remarks in the interview also suggested conflicts with his father, Prince Charles, and his brother William, beyond the issues within the royal system. However, since the controversial interview, Prince William has shown restraint by refraining from publicly discussing his relationship with his younger brother. At significant events, such as their father's coronation in 2023, William did not mention Harry in public, clearly maintaining a distance in the media. According to reliable royal sources, William still harbors deep frustration and disappointment toward Harry for his decision to leave the royal family and for making their personal disagreements public. This has greatly diminished the chances for the brothers to reconcile and rebuild their relationship, making an already complex bond even more fragile and uncertain in the near future. Prior to this, Camilla Shand had a rather complicated and turbulent past, which has always been a point of controversy within the royal circles. She had several relationships that were not particularly smooth and was seen as not fitting the traditional image expected by the royal family. This past, along with the age difference between her and Charles, became a significant barrier, causing many within the royal family to doubt Camilla's suitability as the future king's consort. These suspicions and prejudices made the relationship between Camilla and Charles not just a matter of romance, but also a major challenge in terms of reputation and royal tradition. The relationship between a spouse and their partner's ex is inherently delicate, becoming even more complicated when that ex is a well-known and influential figure within the royal family, such as Princess Anne. Camilla, who has always maintained a calm and discreet demeanor in public, has never openly shown any opposition toward Anne, yet those closely following the royal family have sensed a subtle tension simmering between the two. The situation grew even more awkward when Camilla's marriage to Andrew ended, and she subsequently married Prince Charles, Anne's brother. This not only made Camilla the wife of the brother of Anne's former partner, but also created an awkward and complex dynamic within relationships that had long been marked by disagreements among royal family members. Camilla's emergence as Charles's wife further stirred uncomfortable emotions and significant challenges, intensifying the already tense atmosphere within the family like never before. Even more than that, Camilla has long been seen by many as a key factor contributing to the breakdown of the marriage between Charles and Diana. Diana was deeply beloved by the public, and her memory remains vividly alive in people's hearts. Because of this, Camilla's presence and role within the royal family have stirred a wide range of complex emotions, from suspicion and opposition to gradual efforts toward acceptance. This not only created significant internal challenges within the monarchy, but also had a profound impact on the image and survival of the royal institution in the modern era. Princess Anne is widely known for her steadfast loyalty and deep commitment to the traditional values of the royal family. She is someone who finds it difficult to accept changes or individuals entering the royal household under complicated circumstances, especially when such developments seem to threaten the stability of the long-held principles she cherishes. Having dedicated her entire life to strict discipline and absolute devotion to her royal duties, Anne views Camilla's presence in the royal family not merely as that of an ordinary individual, but as a symbol of the profound changes unfolding within the monarchy. To her, Camilla represents a challenging shift as the institution gradually moves away from rigid traditional frameworks, ushering in a new era that is both uncertain and controversial. The tension between loyalty to tradition and the inevitability of change has caused Anne to grapple with complex emotions while raising significant questions about the future of the monarchy in the modern age. She may not personally dislike Camilla, but she certainly does not accept the choices that have led Camilla to her role as queen consort. From Anne's perspective, royal life means duty first and emotions second. This belief has guided her actions and likely created an emotional distance between her and Camilla. Over time, the public has seen fewer moments of the two women together. Although they attend the same events, their interactions are brief and formal. Behind the scenes, a true bond has never really formed. Too much has happened. Their shared history, intersecting paths, pain, and shifting roles within the family have made it difficult to build anything meaningful between them. Anne has always demonstrated quiet strength and steadfastness in every royal duty she undertakes. She does not easily grant respect or show courtesy unless it stems from concrete actions and sincere commitment. For Anne, titles or family ties only truly hold meaning when accompanied by loyalty and relentless effort. It is this serious and determined attitude that has made her a solid pillar, respected and trusted by both the family and the public, serving as a symbol of dedication and responsibility in preserving the traditions and reputation of the monarchy. Princess Anne has remained absolutely loyal to the crown and the monarchy for many decades. This loyalty was forged through years of dedication to her duties and a deep bond with her mother, Queen Elizabeth II. From a young age, Anne was raised in a strict environment surrounded by unwavering rules and responsibilities values that have guided every action she takes. Her commitment and devotion are evident not only in her official responsibilities, but also in the way she consistently puts the interests of the nation and the monarchy above all else, becoming a symbol of steadfastness and dedication in the hearts of both the public and the royal family. When Prince Charles began moving closer to making Camilla his wife, Anne went through an intense inner struggle to accept this difficult reality. For her, it was not merely a matter of personal discomfort or opposition, but a profound threat to the values and traditions that the royal family has cherished and upheld for generations. Throughout Princess Diana's life, the relationship between Charles and Camilla was always at the center of public controversy and relentless criticism from the media and the public. Anne believes that the damage to the royal family's image and reputation caused by this situation during those years has left a deep and lasting mark on the minds of both the public and family members, significantly affecting the prestige and stability of the monarchy. For Anne, royal life has never been merely about titles, praise, or lavish ceremonies. It is a responsibility to serve the people with grace, resilience, and a quiet but unwavering determination. In her eyes, Camilla has yet to truly prove that she possesses the qualities necessary to fulfill that role. She lacks the essential traits and values strict discipline, the ability to overcome challenges, and a deep sense of duty to the community. Over time, things have grown more complicated as the monarchy entered a new phase, and Camilla's position has changed significantly. Now, as queen consort, Camilla is no longer a peripheral figure, but has become an important partner standing beside the king, representing the royal family to the world. Prince William also plays a crucial role in this power shift. His clear support for Catherine has helped elevate her status and influence within the royal family. As the heir to the throne, William's loyalty and partnership are key factors. Meanwhile, Prince Charles must find a way to balance his duties as king with the complex relationships involving both his wife and his son's family. This balance is fragile, and any sign of favoritism or tension could deepen divisions. In this quiet yet very real competition for attention, approval, and influence, both women must navigate carefully and tactfully. Whether you stand with William or Harry, one thing is undeniable: The moment Princess Anne conveyed King Charles's final wish marked an irreversible turning point in royal history. All eyes are now on the future, a future full of turmoil where old conflicts may either serve as a springboard for change or become the cause of permanent division. What do you think will happen next? Who will truly rise to take the central role during this turbulent time? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'll read every single one. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the latest royal updates. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome to today's video, where one of the most shocking secrets in the history of the British royal family is finally coming to light. After years of staying silent, King Charles III has opened up about something he's kept buried for decades. A painful truth involving Princess Diana, the woman who once meant everything to him. Could this revelation be the moment that sends the royal family into crisis? Let's dive into the jaw-dropping details and uncover the truth behind King Charles's emotional confession in today's video. Surely you've heard the whispers about King Charles's long-hidden secrets, right? What's your take on his shocking confession? Could this really shake the foundations of the royal family? Drop a 1 in the comments if you think this revelation will cause a stir, or a 0 if you believe the royals will weather the storm. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the wild stories we have coming up. Now let's jump into this one together. King Charles III has finally come clean about something he's avoided for more than 30 years. He admitted that he never truly tried to save his marriage to Princess Diana. This revelation isn't just deeply personal, it could mark the beginning of a serious crack within the monarchy. William looked at him with a sharp gaze, not as a son, but as a man who had waited his entire life to hear these words. Harry, though silent, clenched his fists, trembling with the simmering anger within. He did not cry, for the pain had long since scarred over. And then there was Camilla, the woman who once lived in the shadows, now standing firmly at the edge of the spotlight as queen. She knew that while she may wear the crown, she would always stand in the shadow of one name, Diana. Even seated on the throne, Diana's presence would forever linger behind her, unshakable and eternal. Charles's apology echoed through the silent room, leaving everyone holding their breath. It wasn't a political move or a calculated attempt at damage control. It was a raw confession, late, unpolished, and irreversible. And in that moment, the House of Windsor didn't begin to crack because of scandal, but because the truth had finally found its voice. Outside, the rain fell, gently veiling the royal garden in mist, as if nature itself was trying to conceal the dark secrets within. In a quiet office, the warm yellow light illuminated the wrinkled face of King Charles III. He sat alone, his hands trembling as he held an old cassette recorder, a relic from the past. His fingers lightly brushed the play button and pressed down. The voice of Prince Philip, sharp as a knife, pierced through the silence in the room. "You are burning your throne for a woman the public will never forgive." Charles closed his eyes, feeling each word as hammer blows to his soul. He had listened to this tape hundreds of times, but every time his heart tightened with regret. Those words were not just a warning, but a curse, a prophecy of collapse. His reign had only just begun, but the shadows of the past, his broken marriage with Diana, the public's contempt for his affair with Camilla, and the fractures within the family pressed down on him like an immovable mountain. Charles stood up and slowly walked to the window, gazing out at the darkened garden. The rain continued to fall steadily, each drop seeming to echo painful memories. Diana's disappointed eyes, the jeers of the crowd, and his own weak voice attempting to justify his mistakes. In a rare moment of honesty, Charles turned to his closest assistant, Sir Edward Young, who stood silently by the bookshelf. Charles's voice was hoarse, as if the truth required all his strength to speak. "I never really tried to save that marriage." Charles admitted, his voice heavy, and the price to pay was the collapse of an entire dynasty. Edward, who had grown too accustomed to the king's moments of self-questioning, nodded gently, but his eyes carried a deep unease. Charles was not only facing the past he was confessing, but this could ignite a storm beyond control. Edward lowered his head softly, murmuring, "Your Majesty, these words. If the public hears them, it won't just be a scandal. It could shake the very throne." Charles didn't respond, silently returning to his desk. His hand accidentally brushed against a small photo, a glimpse of the once happy family, Charles, Diana, William, and Harry, on a sunny day at Highgrove. Diana's smile in the picture was a painful reminder of everything he had lost. In the weeks that followed, whispers spread throughout the palace. Sources close to the king revealed that he had quietly met with those he had wronged, expressing deep regret for his mistakes. However, the most significant meeting took place on a cold evening at Sandringham, where he faced William, his eldest son, who was now shouldering the future of the throne. In the cozy living room, the fire crackled, but it couldn't ease the tension in the air. Charles clasped William's hand, his eyes red from sorrow. "I hurt your mother and you," he said, his voice trembling. "I hurt you. But I want to make things right, William, even if it's too late." William kept his face cold, but his eyes flared with repressed emotions. He stood tall, his shoulders stiff as though trying to suppress the simmering anger that had existed for decades. "You know that," he replied, his voice low. "But the cost-cutting wasn't just the throne. It was us, this family. You chose Camilla, and Mum had to pay with her life." William's words cut like a knife, piercing Charles's heart. He staggered back, his face drained of color. In that moment, they were no longer king and heir, but a father confronting the consequences of his choices, and a son bearing wounds that would never heal. The door to the room closed behind William, but those words didn't stay confined to Sandringham. They slithered through the palace corridors, reaching loyal servants, and finally they found someone who couldn't ignore them. Camilla, the new queen, quietly observed Charles's every move. The storm broke on a bleak March morning in 2025, as London's sky hung heavy with dark clouds, foreshadowing a scandal that could shake the kingdom. The Times, Britain's most esteemed newspaper, stunned the nation with a bombshell headline on its front page. An unpublished memoir by Princess Diana was discovered in a hidden safe within an old royal estate. Her handwritten words, though trembling, conveyed a pain that pierced the hearts of millions. "I was not just alone in my marriage. I was isolated in an institution with no escape. I tried, but Charles's heart was never mine. I don't blame him for loving another. I blame him for letting me believe I had a chance." These heartfelt and anguished words were a cry from the past, rekindling a pain the public thought buried. Each sentence, each word carried the weight of a long-hidden truth, a powerful accusation that needed no anger to devastate. Within hours, Diana's voice became a global firestorm on social media. From London to New York, Sydney to Tokyo, posts flooded the internet. Diana spoke the truth. Our princess deserves justice. Outside Buckingham Palace, hundreds gathered undeterred by the cold, drizzling rain. They held signs bearing Diana's image in her iconic white silk dress, her eyes in the photos radiant yet steeped in sorrow. Chants echoed through the iron gates, fierce and resolute. Justice for Diana, truth for our queen. Some placed white roses at the palace gates, a belated tribute to the princess. International media buzzed with coverage. Diana's memoir had shaken the monarchy, and Charles faced the public's wrath. In a private meeting room at Clarence House, tension hung thick in the air. King Charles III sat silently at the head of the table, clutching a newspaper with printed excerpts from the memoir. His sunken eyes stared into an inescapable abyss. Around him, media advisors argued heatedly, their voices laced with panic and desperation. A young advisor, pale with fear, spoke up. "Your Majesty, we cannot stay silent. The public demands answers. If we don't act, they'll write their own narrative, and it won't favor the monarchy." An older advisor countered, "Admitting fault will only fan the flames. We need to redirect the story to Your Majesty's or Queen Camilla's charitable work." Charles raised his head, his resolute voice cutting through the chaotic atmosphere. "Enough. There's no turning back. If I keep hiding, I'll lose everything, not just the public's trust, but my family too. I'll give them the truth, not all of it, but enough to show I'm not running." His decision stunned the advisors. Charles would speak at a public event in Westminster Hall, originally planned to honor charitable organizations. As Charles stepped to the podium, facing thousands of eyes and millions more through television, the atmosphere grew stifling. The crowd fell silent, only the patter of rain audible outside. Charles took a deep breath, his hands gripping the white wooden podium tightly, his body visibly tense. His voice trembled, stripped of a monarch's usual majesty. "We are not always right," he said, each word pouring from the depths of his heart. "I was not always fair. Princess Diana deserved more love and respect than she received. For that, I am sorry." The hall froze as if time itself had paused. The public was stunned. For the first time, a reigning monarch had publicly admitted personal fault before the nation. Some in the crowd wept, while others whispered in disbelief. Social media erupted. Charles has finally spoken. Is this the start of justice? But not everyone was satisfied. Some called his apology too late, too vague, lacking real commitment to make amends. Behind the scenes, in a private room at Clarence House, Camilla, now queen, couldn't conceal her fury. The opulent room, adorned with Persian rugs and oil paintings, grew stifling under her rage. Camilla slammed her hand on the ebony table, making a crystal glass tremble. Her eyes blazed as she shouted at the nearest media advisor. "Who did this? Who dared dig up the past to ruin me?" Diana was long gone. Yet why did she still haunt her like a shadow that never faded? The advisor, a middle-aged man with a strained expression, nervously handed her a sealed royal envelope. Inside was a small cassette tape and a handwritten transcript. Camilla's hands trembled with rage as she played the tape. Prince Philip's stern, icy voice filled the room as if he were standing before her. Camilla is not just Charles's lover. She is a manipulator, and she will not stop until she has everything, even the throne. As the tape ended, Camilla hurled the dossier to the floor papers, scattering wildly, her face paled, hands trembling uncontrollably. She sank into a chair, her eyes blazing with fear and fury. Despite wearing the crown, despite standing by Charles through decades of scandal, Diana's shadow remained her greatest threat. The recording unearthed from a secret palace archive was more than a warning from the past. It was evidence that someone close allied with a hidden force was plotting her downfall. Camilla stood striding to the window and staring into the darkened gardens of Clarence's house. The rain fell relentlessly, but in her mind a plan was taking shape. She would not let Diana, even in death, take what she had sacrificed her life to achieve. "If they want a war," Camilla whispered to herself, "I'll give them a battle." Her voice was resolute, though unhealed wounds lingered within. Camilla didn't fear this fight she'd fought before, but this time everything would be different. Meanwhile, at Kensington Palace, William received a call from a covert source. The voice on the other end trembled but was resolute, revealing that Diana's memoir wasn't a random leak. Someone within the palace had orchestrated it, and they had no intention of stopping. William gripped the phone tightly, his heart pounding. William knew this storm was only beginning, and to protect his mother's legacy, he would have to fight a battle he was never prepared for. Night had fallen over Kensington Palace, but the chandelier's brilliant glow in the drawing room couldn't dispel the heavy atmosphere. William, Prince of Wales, stood by the large window gazing into the darkened garden where raindrops glistened under streetlights. The man known for his calm demeanor couldn't hide the turmoil within. What do you think William will do next? Will he be able to overcome the struggles and remain faithful to his family and Princess Diana's legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next developments in this story. William's eyes, usually bright with confidence, now harbored a storm of emotions, anger, pain, and a vague fear of what lay ahead. King Charles's shocking speech at Westminster, where he apologized for his wrongs to Diana, still echoed in William's mind. Though sincere, the confession had exposed a fracture in the monarchy, and William knew he couldn't stand idly by. He made his decision in silence. Refusing his security detail, William drove alone through London's wet streets to Clarence's house. He wanted this meeting private, far from the media's prying eyes and the palace's whispered gossip. Stepping into the familiar study, the scent of aged wood and fireplace smoke pulled him back to childhood memories, days when Diana was alive, and their family was a perfect facade for the public. Now the room felt stifling, as if the walls themselves held secrets no one dared speak. Charles sat behind the desk, his face gaunt, eyes red, as if he'd wrestled with his conscience all night. When he looked up, his gaze met William's, and both felt the weight of the conversation to come. Charles stood, his voice thick with regret. "I thought Camilla was my refuge, but she was where I hid from responsibility. I was wrong, William, and I don't know how to make it right." The raw confession, though sincere, cut into William like a blade. He stayed silent, but memories surged like a tide-long childhood nights, hiding behind doors with Harry hearing their mother's sobs. William recalled Diana's tight embrace, her trembling voice whispering, "Be strong, for one day you'll have to fix what's broken." He dug his nails into his palms, fighting the rage swelling within. He wanted to scream, to demand why his father let everything crumble, but he stood still, fearing a single wrong word might snap the fragile thread between them. Finally, William spoke, his voice low but sharp as a blade. "We can't afford to lose any more, Father." "You talk about fixing things, but do you know how much Mother suffered?" William asked, his voice hard as steel. "Do you know how she tried to hold this family together while you only thought of Camilla? You didn't just hurt her, you hurt all of us." Charles bowed his head, his shoulders trembling, as if William's words were too heavy to bear. He offered no defense, no excuses. In that moment, he was not a king, but a father, facing the wreckage of his choices. William turned away, but within him a fire had ignited. He would not let the past repeat itself, nor allow his family or the monarchy to fracture again. Back at Kensington Palace, Catherine waited in their private quarters, her eyes filled with worry, yet resolute. Without a word, she led William to an old safe, holding their family's most precious relics. Inside was Diana's leather-bound diary, its pages worn and yellowed with time. Catherine handed it to him, and William opened it, flipping to the final page. A handwritten line from his mother stopped him cold. "If I'm gone, let William start anew, but keep that woman away from my children." William clutched the diary, his hands trembling uncontrollably. The words within were not just a plea, they were a warning, a call to action from his mother. He looked at Catherine and for the first time voiced what he had long buried. "Camilla isn't just Father's past. She's a threat to our future, and I won't let that happen." Catherine placed her hand on his shoulder, her voice soft but resolute. "We'll do what's right, William. Not just for your mother, but for our children and this monarchy." In that moment, William felt his wife's strength guiding him through the dark days ahead. He knew the battle to protect his mother's legacy, and the monarchy's future was only just beginning. Outside the palace, the storm of public opinion swelled. Determined to reclaim her standing after Charles's controversial speech, Camilla prepared for a grand event at London's Royal Albert Hall, a charity gala to bolster her image as queen. She chose a striking red silk gown, a symbol of power and confidence. But beneath the surface, she couldn't hide her unease. The faces of Camilla's media advisors betrayed their anxiety, urging caution. A trembling voice pleaded, "Your Majesty, the public is enraged. Protests demanding justice for Diana are spreading. If you appear now, we fear a backlash." Camilla, her eyes cold as steel, cut him off. "I am the queen. No one will force me from the throne, not even William. If I don't appear, they'll think I'm afraid." "And I am never afraid." Defying all advice, Camilla stepped onto the stage. A forced smile played on her lips, her hair impeccable under the chandelier's glow. But as the spotlight hit, instead of applause, she faced a roar. The crowd erupted, waving banners and chanting justice for Diana, with images of the late princess in her shimmering emerald gown. A group shouted in fury, "Camilla, go home!" The cries pierced her heart, echoing the days when Diana was shunned by the royals. For the first time, Camilla felt the isolation Diana endured not just from the public, but from the invisible walls of the palace, where judgmental glances and whispers now turned against her. Camilla maintained her forced smile, delivering her speech with astonishing calm. But backstage, her legs nearly buckled. Her face was pale, her pearl-manicured nails digging into her palms to suppress the trembling. A panicked advisor rushed to her, whispering, "Your Majesty, we've just learned an internal email you sent to Sir Edward Young has leaked to the press. In it, you requested we halt Diana's charitable projects and limit Prince William's role in royal reforms. The media's calling it a plot against Diana's legacy. Someone inside the palace did this deliberately, and they're targeting you." Camilla held her breath, her face taut with strain. The email, written in a moment of anger months ago, was a mistake she thought buried in the palace's secure servers. Now exposed, it was a dagger aimed at her position. She turned to the advisor, her eyes blazing with fury and fear. "Who?" She growled each word, hissing through clenched teeth. "Who dared do this to me?" The advisor lowered his gaze, unable to meet her eyes. "We don't know yet, Your Majesty, but it's someone with access to the internal systems. We're investigating, but the press has copies and the public is outraged." Camilla retreated to a shadowed corner backstage, leaning against the wall to keep from collapsing. Her breath came in gasps, her mind reeling with images of screaming headlines and escalating protests, all under Diana's looming shadow, smiling from eternity. She realized her enemy wasn't just out there among the jeering crowds or tabloid pages. The enemy was inside the palace, a close, powerful figure determined to destroy her. She straightened, wiping sweat from her brow, her face hardening. "Summon the media team," she ordered, her voice steady. "I want to know who's behind this, and I want them punished." "No one can threaten my throne." In Camilla's mind, a plan took shape, not just to protect her position, but to ensure those who challenged her paid a steep price. The storm was closing in, and Camilla would not be easily swept away. A plane touched down at Heathrow on a dreary afternoon. London's sky was blanketed with gray clouds, as if crushing any faint hope. Harry, Duke of Sussex, descended the steps, his eyes heavy with sorrow, but resolute like a warrior returning to an old battlefield. Though he had stepped back from royal duties, he carried unhealed wounds from a fractured family, torn between loyalty to his mother, Princess Diana, and estrangement from his father, King Charles III. This return wasn't for reconciliation. Harry came to confront, to force his father to face the mistakes that shattered their family, and to expose Camilla, whom he believed was the root of their pain. His public reason for the visit was a charity event for disadvantaged children, a cause he shared with his mother. But in the shadows of Clarence House, a private meeting had been arranged. Harry requested a one-on-one with his father, no advisors, no aides, no cameras. Stepping into the familiar study, the scent of aged wood and fireplace smoke pulled him back to childhood, when their family was a perfect facade to the world. Now the room hummed with tension, as if the air itself held its breath, awaiting an explosion. Charles sat behind the desk, his face gaunt, his weary eyes haunted by ghosts of the past. His apology at Westminster, admitting his wrongs to Diana, still stirred public uproar. But to Harry, it was a belated, feeble confession, too weak to heal the deep scars etched in his soul. Charles rose, reaching to embrace his son, but Harry raised a hand, his gaze cold and sharp as a blade. "I'm not here for more apologies, Father," Harry said, his voice low but seething with anger. "You spoke too late when Mother couldn't hear. I'm here to show you what you let happen and who's behind it all." Without preamble, Harry placed a small black USB drive on the desk, its weight seemingly heavy with consequence. "You need to see this," he said, his voice trembling with suppressed emotion. "And then you owe me an answer." Charles's trembling hands plugged the USB into his laptop. The screen flickered, revealing a secretly recorded video from a Buckingham Palace meeting room. Camilla, her face cold and resolute, led a discussion with senior officials. Her voice was unwavering, her tone chillingly calm. What she said next, the plans laid out, was a shocking revelation, forcing Harry and Charles to confront an undeniable truth. Camilla's voice echoed through the secret video. "Harry and Meghan are no longer royals. Continuing their security privileges is unnecessary. We need to send a clear message that they don't belong here. If that puts them at risk, it's the price they pay." The room sank into stifling silence. Charles bowed his head, hands gripping the desk knuckles, white as he fought to stay composed. Harry stared into his father's eyes, his voice trembling with rage and pain. "Did she order it, or did you let her?" Charles looked up, his eyes shattered as if his final defenses had crumbled. He opened his mouth, but the words caught in his throat. Finally, he whispered hoarsely, his voice heavy with regret, "I didn't stop her, Harry." "I let Camilla decide, thinking it would keep the peace. But I was wrong, and the price was you, your family." The confession, sincere but agonizing, cut deeply into Harry. He stood, frozen fists, clenched eyes, stinging with disappointment and grief. "Peace," he repeated, his voice choked. "You call putting Meghan and me in danger peace. You call letting Mother live in loneliness, abandoned by this institution peace. You chose her, not us, not Mother." Charles buried his face in his hands, his shoulders trembling as if the weight of the past was crushing him. Harry turned and walked away, leaving Charles in the dim glow of the desk lamp. Outside, under London's cold rain, Harry paused, his breath mingling with the mist. Harry could wield the video as a weapon to destroy Camilla and shake the monarchy, but he knew revenge wouldn't bring his mother back or mend their family. Instead, he made an unexpected move. He sent a copy of the video to William with a brief but weighty message. "You're the only one who can stop her. Don't let Mother's death be in vain." As William watched the video at Kensington Palace, a shock ran down his spine. Camilla's words and actions confirmed his suspicions. She wasn't just part of their painful past, but a persistent threat to their family and the monarchy. For the first time in years, William felt a bond with his brother, forged by their love for their mother and a shared desire to protect her legacy. Gripping his phone, he whispered, "Harry, you're right. We'll do this together." William sought out Catherine, sharing the video and its revelations. In the quiet drawing room of Kensington Palace, they sat facing each other, firelight casting resolute shadows across their faces. Catherine clasped William's hand, her voice steady. "Camilla has gone too far. If we don't act, she'll destroy everything your mother built." William and Harry, once estranged brothers, now faced a shared mission to bring the truth before the royal council. William's eyes gleamed with determination, as if a bold plan were taking shape. The leaked emails from Camilla, combined with Harry's secret video, provided damning evidence from the Royal Albert Hall. But they knew that to confront Camilla and protect the royal legacy, they needed their father's support, King Charles. For the first time in years, the brothers had to unite, reigniting a spirit of solidarity to save the monarchy from collapse. On an April morning, Britain was rocked by a shocking poll. 62% of those under 40 declared they were ready to abandon the monarchy if Camilla retained a prominent role beside King Charles. The figure rang like an alarm bell through the marble corridors of Buckingham Palace. On London's streets, waves of protesters raised banners bearing Princess Diana's image, demanding justice for the people's queen. International media fanned the flames of chaos with sensational headlines warning of a British monarchy teetering on the brink of collapse. Well, after all these years of keeping it hidden, King Charles has finally confessed his biggest regret. What does this mean for the future of the royal family? Could these confessions mark a turning point, or could they spell the end of unity within the family? What do you think about Charles's decision? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an exciting update. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. What if a single ring hidden for decades turned out to be the key to the final message from Diana? When Prince William opened his mother's old jewelry box, he discovered a secret he never could have imagined. An inscription in Latin, a whisper from the past one that only those involved could understand. Do you want to know why this made William remain silent? Join us as we uncover the story of the forgotten jewelry box through time. What do you think about the secret gift that Prince William discovered? Could it be a message Princess Diana wanted to pass on to her family? Leave a 1 if you're curious about royal secrets, and if not, leave a 0. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on the exciting videos coming up. It all didn't begin with a grand ceremony or royal decisions. It began in a peaceful and quiet moment. At Althorp House, where Diana spent her childhood and where she rests for eternity, Prince William stood in a room that had remained untouched for decades. The silence was profound, and the golden rays of the afternoon sun streamed through the window, casting light on the dust particles floating in the air. In front of William was a simple velvet box, once belonging to the woman the world admired, the mother he called by one simple name, Mum. He had expected to find a crown, a pearl necklace, or sparkling sapphire stones, the precious items Diana often wore to grand ceremonies. But when he opened the box, the shimmering light of ancestral treasures was no longer there. Instead, he discovered something far more intimate and simple, an ivory-colored envelope showing signs of age gently tinged with yellow. The inscription on the envelope, written by his mother's hand, was clearly not meant for the public. William, his name, written in Diana's own delicate handwriting. There was no royal wax seal, no official stationery, just the gentle words of a mother. Prince William was stunned. He opened the envelope, his hands trembling. As the envelope unfolded, it revealed not only a ring, but also a message full of meaning. The deep emerald ring, intricately designed, was unlike any of the other jewelry Diana had ever owned. But the most important part lay in the note inside, written with a clear sense of responsibility for the one who would carry on both tradition and ideals. This was not just a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol, a compass, a final reminder of the mission Diana had nurtured. Upon closer inspection, Prince William noticed the Latin inscription engraved on the ribbon inside the ring, Veritas Lux. Truth is my light. It was a message meant for the one who would bear this immense responsibility. The ring was not just a piece of jewelry. It was an eternal symbol, a guiding light for a future that Diana would never witness. This jewelry box had been kept at Althorp for many years, under the care of Diana's brother, Earl Charles Spencer. It was hidden in a room that no one was allowed to enter. For years, No one knew the contents of the box. Then one day, when the family began a project to catalog Diana's personal belongings, the box was discovered. But what had been concealed all these years now raised countless unanswered questions. Why was this ring separated from Diana's other royal jewelry? Why did no one in the monarchy, where everything is protected and monitored, know about its existence? And most importantly, why did Diana leave it for William alone? Some say that when he discovered the ring, he was moved to tears. Others recount that William remained silent for hours, saying nothing. But one thing is certain: when he left that room, his state of mind had completely changed. It was not for wealth, nor for status, but for the voice of a mother echoing through time, meant for the child who would carry the weight of both tradition and truth. What did Diana see that was about to happen? What was she afraid of? And what did she know that no one else did? Though the box had been forgotten by time, the message inside now shines like a lighthouse, lighting every path ahead. Stay tuned, as what William uncovers next could change the fate of the royal family forever. Princess Charlotte, though born into royalty, has grown up in a world full of complexities where legacies are quietly creating a battlefield. On the surface, her world seems to sparkle with crowns, festivities, and grand ceremonies. But beneath that glamorous exterior, a silent tension is waiting to erupt, a tension that began long before she was born. Charlotte, whether aware or not, stands between two royal women who have never shared the throne, yet their shadows are deeply etched upon it. On one side is Princess Diana, a name forever tied to tears and public applause. To the public, she was a symbol of compassion and courage. But to William, Diana was more than just a symbol. She was a mother, a presence that has always lingered in his life. Family moments, from old photographs to tapes with her voice, continue to live vividly in his memory. On the other side is Queen Camilla, the woman who married into the royal family but has never escaped the scrutinizing gaze. Her image, always meticulously groomed, does not bring warm smiles, but seems to lack depth. Her relationship with William's children, though cordial, lacks the warmth of a true family. There are no spontaneous hugs, no laughter around the kitchen table. While she is very close to her biological grandchildren with George, Charlotte, and Louis, the connection feels distant, with visits always carefully planned. Interactions among the royal family often seem carefully staged. In contrast, Charlotte quietly absorbs everything around her. Those close to the family describe her as a child who observes keenly always, noticing changes in tone and habits, listening more than speaking. Though just 9 years old, she has already earned the title of the most perceptive child in the family. Perhaps this is why the recent whispers about a quiet murmur, an obvious hesitation, and the subtle distance between Charlotte and Camilla have sparked such curiosity. Has Charlotte sensed the divide, felt its weight? Has she perhaps unknowingly started to empathize with the grandmother she never met, but seems to understand on a deep, instinctual level? William and Catherine have always strived to raise their children with emotional awareness, cherishing their feelings and encouraging them to speak the truth gently. But what happens when that instinct is torn between royal duty and personal truth? Charlotte's life will always be torn between royal duty and the personal truths she must face. But it is through her choices, the people she turns to, and what she says when the cameras aren't looking, that something deeper is being revealed. Charlotte may still be young, but in this royal family story, she is far from a supporting character. The loyalty she is beginning to form may shape the future of the monarchy in ways more powerful than anyone could imagine. For decades, Camilla Parker Bowles has lived in the shadow of royal history. She was a name rarely mentioned, a controversial figure. However, now Camilla wears the crown officially crowned as queen and standing alongside King Charles in the historic responsibility she must bear. Despite this acceptance of her remains a challenging task. The title may have been granted, but trust and recognition from the people must be built and nurtured over time. Inside the palace, Camilla's path has never been smooth. Her relationship with Prince William remains one of politeness and outward respect, yet emotionally distant. Though William has never openly criticized her, he has also never publicly shown affection for her. That silence speaks volumes, and the true tension lies not only in William's heart, but also in the hearts of his children. With her own grandchildren, Camilla is said to be very dedicated often, organizing garden picnics, handing out sweets, and telling bedtime stories. However, with George Charlotte and Louis, there is a clear distance in their relationship. There are no cozy photos, no cheerful anecdotes, only moments that seem staged where warmth is implied but never truly demonstrated. And in Charlotte's case, Camilla's absence at significant events becomes even more apparent. At public ceremonies, Camilla rarely interacts with her grandchildren. Private family gatherings seldom show the closeness between her and her grandchildren either. While Catherine always nurtures a connection, Camilla maintains a certain distance, creating a boundary that is not born of malice, but perhaps uncertainty. It seems that even now she is unsure of her place in the hearts of the future generation. But children are incredibly perceptive, especially Charlotte. And that's when the whisper appeared. A whisper accidentally picked up by the microphone. Although it wasn't meant for the headlines, it was still published. What did Charlotte say in that moment? Some believe it was a comment on Camilla's behavior. Others think it was a question and accidental doubt voiced aloud. Whatever the words, they struck a chord with those who heard them, because they showed that even children within the royal family can sense the divide. Camilla may not have intentionally caused harm, but legacy is not shaped by intention, it is shaped by impact. And if a child raised in a family that values truth and emotions starts to feel discord, coldness, and isolation, what does that say about the unity of the royal family? Camilla's journey to the throne may be complete, but the path for her to earn the affection of the next generation remains filled with questions. The smallest royal woman in this room may just be the one holding the answers. The shadow of Diana still lingers faint, but ever present. She passed away nearly 3 decades ago, yet the influence of Princess Diana has never faded, especially within the Wales family. To the public, she is a symbol of compassion and rebellion. To her grandchildren, she is a legendary figure, not a ghost, not a memory, but something vivid, profound. With Charlotte, the presence of Diana, though long gone, remains particularly vivid. It all began with the stories softly told before bedtime passed down by William and Catherine like family heirlooms. William says that Diana would have loved the laughter of her children. She was courageous, kind, and always spoke the truth. Catherine strengthens Diana's legacy through the charities bearing her name and teaches the children about empathy rather than mere politeness. Charlotte carries Diana's name, and she radiates a fiery beauty, a powerful continuation of a legacy. Observers have long remarked on the striking similarities between Charlotte and Diana, the tilted chin, sharp eyes, and emotions that are never concealed. But more importantly, it is the emotional intelligence, the sense of justice, and the quiet refusal to conform that make the connection between her and Diana undeniable. When Charlotte appears before the public, she exudes calmness and independence, leaving even the most seasoned royal watchers in awe. At the Queen Elizabeth Jubilee, Charlotte did not merely wave. She made a powerful statement with her mischievous smile and knowing gaze, as if she understood far more than she let on. And then the contrast between the two royal women became more evident than ever. If Diana once brought warmth to the cold palaces, Camilla brings peace but not comfort. She brings stillness, stability, but not the warmth a royal family needs. Charlotte, growing up in the embrace of her grandmother's legacy, can sense that difference. She may not fully understand the entire story, but children don't need the truth to recognize a rift. She knows that one woman in her life is spoken of with love and respect, while the other is only mentioned with politeness and reserve. That contrast carries weight and is gradually shaping her. Charlotte may never sit on the throne, but she could become a figure of power just as formidable. A moral compass for a monarchy, searching for its soul. And Diana's spirit, she doesn't haunt the palace. She is guiding it through a granddaughter, one who sees through everything and speaks up at the most crucial moments, the silent tensions at palace events. Royal occasions are often designed to impress golden carriages, finely crafted hats, smiles meticulously arranged. This is a high-stakes drama. But for those who watch closely, it's not the dazzling display that matters, it's the moments of silence. A fleeting moment in full regalia, lasting less than 3 seconds, went viral almost instantly. When the royal family gathered on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, Princess Charlotte subtly leaned away from Camilla. It was so slight, almost imperceptible, but the cameras caught it, and the frame was frozen, dissected, and analyzed. This was not an isolated incident. At the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, insiders recalled an exchange that reportedly caused a momentary tension within the family. According to reports, Camilla seemed displeased with a brief whisper between Charlotte and George. This moment escalated behind the scenes. Camilla was said to have requested that Charlotte be removed from the row of seats, but William and Catherine refused. The consequences were not severe, but they were undeniably cold. At the coronation, one of the most watched events in royal history, Charlotte's gesture told a story of its own. She bowed respectfully to her grandfather, but when passing Camilla, there was no gaze, no gesture, only silence. Was this a coincidence or a choice? Time and again, these small moments accumulate. There are no public outbursts, no royal scandals, just a series of silences that reveal something deeper. The way Charlotte carries herself, the people she turns to, and those she avoids have not escaped the notice of those within the palace. They might dismiss it as the mood swings of a child, but those who understand the language of legacy see it more clearly. Children reveal truths that adults try to hide. And when a royal child raised in emotional fluency begins to withdraw, even if subtly that withdrawal carries weight, Charlotte may never speak it aloud, but she has already spoken. And what she hasn't said is what rewrites everything, the whisper that started it all. So what do you think about the signs Charlotte is showing? Is she starting to realize what's going on around her? Leave a 1 if you sense that change, or a 0 if you think her actions are still not quite clear. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This was never meant to be heard. Not by the cameras, not by the press, and certainly not by a world still haunted by royal tragedies. But in one careless moment, a whisper from Princess Charlotte broke a long-buried, fractured boundary hidden beneath courtly smiles and carefully rehearsed traditions. It happened at a garden party, the kind of event where powdered sugar on pastries hides subtle tensions, and every step is rehearsed. Charlotte, dressed in blue, stood beside her mother, her calm gaze scanning the crowd with the familiar poise. Then came Queen Camilla, smiling, wearing gloves, radiant in a pastel outfit. And then the whisper. The cameras didn't capture the words, but the reactions of those around her were caught. Catherine subtly turned her head towards her daughter. William's face hardened. Camilla paused for half a second, just enough for seasoned royal watchers to feel it. Something had been said. That evening, experts in lip reading and body language carefully analyzed the footage. A theory emerged among the crowd. Charlotte had asked, "Why is she pretending to be nice?" This has never been confirmed, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. The palace, renowned for its silence on internal matters, declined to comment. But behind those closed doors, that moment has not been forgotten. It was the question of a child holding a painful truth, echoing through the gilded halls and creeping into the hearts of a family still haunted by unspoken wounds. For Charlotte, perhaps it was just curiosity. But for those who lived through Diana's years, it carried a meaning far deeper, a ripple from the past. Because the last time anyone dared to openly question royal appearances in such a way, it was Diana who spoke out through interviews, her gaze, and yes, even her jewelry. And now her granddaughter is quietly rebelling. Not with sensational headlines, but simply with 6 gentle words. Why is she pretending to be nice? It was not an attack. It was a reflection. A child raised to trust her emotions, simply reacting to something she couldn't name, but clearly felt. And in doing so, she may have said what others only thought. Some in the company were said to have urged William and Catherine to tighten the boundaries to prevent the children from absorbing outdated narratives. But others closer to the couple believe it is too late. The legacy lives on in Charlotte. Intuition runs deep. The whisper that started it all has now become a quiet symbol, a warning, a change, a moment when the next generation subtly stepped outside the royal mold. And so Diana's voice has found a new home, not in scandal, not in rebellion, but in a whisper that refuses to be ignored. The atmosphere and the mirror. Prince William once served as the bridge between the old and the new, but now he has become the mirror reflecting the contradictions torn between 2 legacies, one born of duty, the other born of truth. And Charlotte's whisper does not only echo through the palace halls, it has reached him. In the days that followed, William was said to be silent, distant, and contemplative. His aides noticed the change. A close source revealed that it wasn't anger. It was acknowledgement. An acknowledgement that his daughter was seeing what he had learned to bury. An acknowledgement that the past isn't truly the past, and perhaps it never will be, because Charlotte's comment didn't come from defiance. It came from intuition, and William knew exactly where she had inherited that from Diana. He has spent many years trying to balance the legacy of his mother with the institution she once sought to escape. He walks with the bearing of a king, but carries within him the memory of a young man who held her hand through the pain. He married for love, raised his children with emotional sincerity, and leads with compassion. But deep down, he still bears the scars of a family struggling with itself. And now he witnesses that struggle unfold once again, this time through the eyes of his daughter. William doesn't want his daughter to bear the same burdens. But how can you shield a child from the truth when that truth is evident in family photos? Camilla, by all official accounts, has never been cruel to the children. But in the royal world, cruelty is often not expressed. It's passive. It's absent. Distance. The coldness behind the smile. Charlotte sees it. William realizes that she sees it. And suddenly, the boundary between the past and the future begins to blur. Insiders say that William has become more cautious in his meetings with senior royal members since the whispering incident. He asks more questions, challenges more protocols, and exercises stricter control over who spends time with his children because he knows what Diana went through. Legacy is not just what you leave behind, it's what you allow to continue. If Charlotte can sense the divide, if at the age of 9 she can recognize which truths sound hollow, then William must decide the path he will lead her down. Will he protect the institution or protect her spirit? That is the same question Diana once asked herself. And now, William stands before the same mirror. This time with his daughter, he is looking at the quiet shield of Catherine. If William is the bridge and Charlotte is the mirror, then Catherine is the shield, silent, resolute, and sharp, beneath her calm, velvet exterior. And in the storm of whispers, the legacy and untold truths rising, Catherine's role has never been more important or more difficult. From the moment she entered the royal family, Catherine mastered the art of survival. She learned the rules. She followed the protocols, and gradually, methodically, she became the monarchy's most invaluable stabilizing force. But beneath her dazzling exterior and dignified demeanor, Catherine carries a fierce maternal instinct. Her top priority has always been her children. And when Charlotte whispered her now famous question, something within Catherine is said to have changed. Those closest to her say she became more cautious, more selective in family gatherings, present more often in meetings with senior royal members. Not to challenge, but to protect, because Catherine understands what unspoken discomfort looks like. She knows how a cold smile can hurt fragile hearts, and she understands exactly how much weight a child's intuition can carry. She doesn't correct Charlotte's instincts. She hides them. It's said that since that incident, Catherine has begun to carefully craft the narrative of Diana, choosing when to speak about her, how to answer difficult questions, and when to let silence speak louder than words. Because the issue isn't just about protecting Charlotte from the past, it's also about preparing her for the future. A future where truth will matter more than tradition, where Charlotte will not only have to navigate the world of crowns and cameras, but also the unspoken expectations and hidden power games. And in that future, Catherine is her silent general. Some may see her silence as passive, but they don't understand her strategy. She doesn't attack. She surrounds, she absorbs, and when the time comes, she defends. In contrast, Camilla is all calculation and distance. And while Catherine displays her natural grace in public, the boundaries remain firm in private, especially now when Charlotte is observing, learning, and growing. And perhaps Catherine's greatest legacy is not her title or her charity work. It may be the emotional fortress she is carefully building around her daughter's soul. The voice of Diana in a modern monarchy. It was never just about the crown or the tears. Princess Diana didn't want to destroy the monarchy. She wanted to humanize it, to whisper the truth into a palace that had forgotten how to listen. And now, nearly 30 years later, her voice still resonates not in rebellion but in legacy. And it is rising through Charlotte. The question is not whether Diana's spirit still exists. That voice echoes through generations, through William's way of raising his children, through Catherine's protection, and now through Charlotte's quiet defiance. The monarchy has tried to move on. Camilla has been renamed. Charles has ascended the throne. New portraits have replaced the old ones. But none of that diminishes Diana's influence. Because her impact hasn't faded, it continues to resonate. And Charlotte is resonating, not through headlines, not through interviews, but through a glance, a step, a whisper. Diana wore jewelry with meaning. Charlotte wears her name with a clear purpose. Diana questioned the institution from within. Charlotte senses the imbalance without anyone saying a word. And that is what the company fears the most. You can fabricate stories, you can manage reputations, but you can't control what a child sees. If Charlotte at just 9 years old can already sense which room is colder, which hand is more sincere, and which smile is empty, then the story is far from over. It's evolving. And in this evolution, Diana's voice has not faded. It is becoming sharper. What will the future hold? The monarchy has always existed through silence, through structure, through traditions wrapped in ceremony. But what happens when the future learns to speak? What happens when that future braids her hair, asks questions, and bows only when it feels right? What happens when her name is Charlotte? The monarchy now stands on the edge. William is the heir. Catherine is the heart. But Charlotte may be the change they have never seen before because she is not rebellious. She is reflecting, and her reflection is what the crown has tried to control for generations, the truth of humanity. The question isn't whether she will become queen. It's how she will become a queen. A woman living in truth like Diana, one shaped in warmth like Catherine, or one weaving through shadows like Camilla. She may still be many years away from titles or duties, but her presence carries weight. Her instincts have made people wary behind the palace walls. Her voice, no matter how soft, is bending the steel of centuries-old tradition. The future is not in the throne. It lies in the child who one day may choose not to sit on it. And if that child has whispered the truth, the crown should listen. Because what Charlotte sees now will shape the next monarchy. And if Diana's light truly exists, it will burn brightly within her. The crown, the whispers, and the calculations, they've tried to write a new chapter. A chapter where the crown shines untouched by the past. But as each whisper from Charlotte grows louder, that polished story begins to crack. Those within the royal family hope that time will soften Diana's legacy, that Camilla's crown will shine brightly in her own way. But now the past is not just returning. It is asserting itself through the smallest voices within the family. William knows this. Catherine is wary of it. And Charlotte, she simply reflects it without filter, without fear. And so the monarchy stands at a crossroads. The crown still rests on Charles's head, but the future is quietly taking shape in school hallways, garden paths, and the whispered questions behind palace doors. A child asks why some people pretend to be kind, and suddenly the history of many generations echoes through that question. Because once a whisper is spoken, it cannot be taken back, and the truth it carries cannot either. Camilla's crown, and Diana's curse. Each royal title holds its own weight, but none is heavier than that of Queen Camilla because her crown is not one given with affection. It is a crown forged through fire. Time has granted her a new appearance. The public has been asked to forget, but the echoes of Diana are not so easily silenced. And now, in the era of Charlotte, that echo resounds even more loudly. Every event, every gesture is observed with sharper eyes. Camilla walks through a family that accepts her presence but rarely embraces it. And Charlotte, quietly, perceptively, unwaveringly, has become the symbol of that unease. Camilla may reign beside a king, but she will never escape the queen who was never crowned. Because Diana left behind more than just sorrow. She left a warning. And Charlotte may be the living reminder of that. Legacy cannot be erased. The palace can edit press releases. The crown can touch up portraits, but legacy is not in the title. It lies in the truth, and Charlotte is the truth. Wrapped in silk, equipped with instinct, she doesn't choose sides, she simply sees what is. Camilla holds the crown, but Diana holds the memory of the world. And through Charlotte, that memory moves, breathes, and waits. No royal decree can control the heart of a child. No ceremony can dictate her emotions. And what Charlotte feels one day may change everything. The question is no longer whether she will see the truth, but what she will do with it when the time comes. Because Diana's story is far from over, and Charlotte may be the one to write its ending. So what does this hidden ring mean for William and the future of the crown? Diana may have gone, but her voice is clearly still there. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. We truly appreciate it. It's time. After many years of silence, Princess Diana's sister, Lady Sarah McCorquodale, at 60 years old, has finally decided to speak up and reveal all the secrets that many have been wondering about for so long. The rumors about Diana's private life, her relationship with Charles, and the controversial events within the royal family, all of these are now being clarified by Sarah in this video. The untold details and insights from a unique perspective will surely surprise you. If you're curious about these secrets, leave a 1 in the comments. If not, comment 0 to let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to enjoy the video and hit the subscribe button to support the channel. Beyond her role as a sister, Lady Elizabeth Sarah Lavinia McCorquodale, born on March 19, 1955, has dropped a bombshell after years of silence and avoiding the painful issue surrounding her sister Diana. She has found the courage to answer the questions on many people's minds in a documentary honoring Princess Diana. Sarah opened up about the events leading to Diana's death. She mentioned that her sister was very serious about wearing her seatbelt, so why didn't she do so? That night, Sarah also expressed her frustration when people kept saying that Diana was injured and expected to recover that night in the tragic accident. Have you ever wondered what happened? We understand there is still much to clarify. So sit back and relax as we dive into Lady Sarah's life and why she became the focal point of the rumors surrounding her sister's death. Sarah McCorquodale is the eldest of 4 children born to a member of the British aristocracy. She is 2 years older than Jane Fellows and 6 years older than Diana. Their parents were John Spencer and Frances Shand Kidd. The Spencer siblings grew up around the royal family as 4 of their grandmothers served as ladies-in-waiting to Queen Elizabeth. Sarah and her siblings lived at Park House, a rented home on the Queen's estate at Sandringham. Sarah and Diana shared a good relationship, with many believing that Diana viewed Sarah as a hero. However, their relationship with their parents was unstable. Their parents couldn't resolve their issues, leading to separation and divorce in 1969. Sarah's mother, Frances, longed for freedom and quickly remarried Peter Shand Kidd. When Sarah's father was given the title of Earl, Sarah was granted the title of Lady, and her family moved to live at Althorp. Later, Sarah's father married Rain, the Countess of Dark, a decision that was not accepted by the Spencer children, causing tension between them and their stepmother for many years. Sarah filled the gap in Diana's life, helping her adjust to having a new stepmother. Although Diana admitted she didn't like her stepmother and had an unstable childhood, Sarah did her best to support her. But did Sarah, who always wanted the best for her sister, truly lead Diana down a dark path? The story of Princess Diana and the royal family's secrets has always attracted attention, and now, with the revelations from her sister, Lady Sarah, everything will be clarified. Do you have any questions about Diana's life or the royal family? Leave your questions or thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other fascinating stories. Before Diana became one of the most famous figures in history, she was an ordinary girl. Diana was homeschooled under the supervision of her governess, Gertrude Allen. She only began formal schooling when her father believed she could take care of herself. Diana attended Sillfield Private School in Norfolk, and later went to Riddlesworth Hall, an all-girls boarding school. At the age of 9, Diana was allowed to join her sisters at West Heath School in Sevenoaks, where she learned to build charisma and became one of the outstanding students due to her community spirit. After completing her education at 16, Diana wanted to try everything. She loved music and became a talented pianist. Diana also enjoyed swimming, but what she loved most was learning ballet and tap dance. She once said that if she weren't a princess, she would have loved to become a dancer. Diana wasn't afraid to explore the world. She moved to London and lived in an apartment with other girls, learning how to live and taking life as it came. There were rumors that Diana worked as a nanny, taught dance to young people, was a nursery assistant, and even worked as a party hostess. She found her place in London and became best known for working as a teaching assistant at the Young England School in Pimlico. A while later, Diana lived with Sarah. It was during this time that Prince Charles entered Diana's life. Sarah was the one who introduced Diana to the prince during a visit to the Spencer family home at Althorp in 1977, when Diana was 16 and Charles was 29. The prince was there for a hunting trip, and Diana recalls that they met in the middle of a plowed field. According to an article in the Daily Times, when Charles looked at Diana, he thought she would make a suitable wife and future queen, while Diana was captivated by the young prince. Before meeting Diana, Charles had had several romantic relationships, and this wasn't the first time the prince had set his sights on a girl from the Spencer family. In 1981, they began dating in 1980. And it took them 13 meetings before they publicly announced their engagement and marriage. Diana initially denied rumors about their engagement until they were ready to make it official. Everyone was happy for the new couple, and Queen Elizabeth II also took a liking to Diana. Sarah also approved of her sister's relationship with the man who would become king. After their engagement, Diana gave up her job as a nursery teacher's assistant and temporarily lived at the Queen's mother's residence, Clarence House. She later moved to Buckingham Palace, and their wedding in July 1981 was held at St. Paul's Cathedral. It became one of the most watched events in history, with over 750 million people tuning in to watch the fairy tale wedding on television, and thousands of people lined the streets hoping to catch a glimpse of the couple. After their marriage, Diana became the Princess of Wales, and the public immediately embraced her as she carried out her royal duties. She represented the Queen on many occasions, one of which was at a Commonwealth event. People thought of Diana as a shy princess, but she had a unique charm and allure. She had a kind heart, and dedicated much of her energy to charity work, including campaigns against the stigma surrounding AIDS patients, which drew attention from many. The Princess of Wales was seen alongside AIDS patients, treating them with kindness to change the public's perception of the disease. She also advocated for the removal of landmines and joined the International Red Cross. Charity was not just a duty for Diana, it was her purpose in life. Her smile, kindness, and demeanor won the hearts of many. Diana was not just the Princess of Wales, she was the princess of people's hearts. She was not a beautiful woman who sat back waiting to be served, but a woman who loved to take the initiative and get things done. You might wonder where was her sister when Diana joined the royal family. By the time Charles and Diana got engaged, Sarah was married to Neil McCorquodale, with whom she had 3 children, George, Emily, and Celia. Sarah and the princess remained close after Diana married Charles. She was also involved in royal duties and sometimes accompanied Diana on official trips as a lady-in-waiting. One such trip was a royal visit to Nepal in 1993. Although she didn't appear much in the media, Sarah was always present in her sister's life. There were rumors that the affair between Charles and Camilla had started before and continued throughout their marriage. It seemed that everyone knew about this relationship, which made Diana start to realize her husband's romantic history. The princess began to look at things from a different perspective, and this was one of the hardest challenges she had to face. Charles's response, when asked about love in a previous interview, shocked Diana and everyone else. When asked if they were in love, Diana quickly and happily said yes, while Charles coldly replied, "Whatever love means." At the time, it seemed strange, but only later did Diana understand that she was not the only woman in Charles's life. Initially, Queen Elizabeth II had a positive impression of Diana due to her noble background. She believed Diana would easily adapt to royal life. However, over time, the differences between Diana and the Queen became more apparent. Diana was very open about her emotions, especially when she was feeling sad, while the Queen always kept her emotions under wraps, maintaining a calm and composed demeanor. This created a significant issue between them. Diana often cried when things became too overwhelming, while the Queen was confused by these emotional outbursts. Diana sought guidance and comfort, but their contrasting personalities made it difficult for them to truly connect. When Diana suddenly passed away, the Queen's calm response was seen by many as distant and indifferent. People expected a stronger emotional reaction from her, but in her speech at Diana's funeral, the Queen revealed her true feelings, praising Diana as an extraordinary and talented woman. In 1977, Diana first met Prince Charles when she was just 16 years old and he was 29. The prince was drawn to Diana's lively and charming personality. By 1980, Charles felt the need to marry a young aristocratic and virginal woman, and Diana seemed to perfectly fit these criteria. Their relationship became more serious when they reconnected at a friend's house. However, even before they married, Charles maintained contact with his ex-girlfriend, Camilla Parker. Diana felt uncomfortable with this relationship, as Charles continued to communicate with Camilla despite being engaged to her. Nevertheless, Charles felt jealous of the attention Diana received from the public. Crowds would always gather to meet Diana, while if they encountered Charles, they sometimes felt disappointed. Their relationship faced many issues right from the start. Diana and Charles both betrayed each other, and although they tried to repair their relationship, these efforts ultimately failed. In December 1992, they decided to separate, officially ending their marriage. After Diana's death, Charles helped the family bring her body back from Paris to England. This act demonstrated his respect and feelings for his ex-wife, even though their relationship had been fractured for years. Prince Philip Charles's father was one of the few members of the royal family to marry someone outside the family rather than being born into it. Because of this, he could understand the challenges Diana faced when confronting the rules and difficulties of royal life. When Diana's marriage encountered trouble, Philip tried to support her. In letters from 1992, he offered help, provided advice, and supported Diana in dealing with her marital issues. However, despite Philip acknowledging that he wasn't the right person to offer advice on relationships, Diana appreciated his efforts. She responded to his letters with gratitude and deep affection. Nonetheless, their relationship wasn't without its turbulence. Later, it was revealed that Philip had written 2 letters criticizing Diana, which left her feeling uncomfortable. A royal expert also mentioned that Diana began to see Philip as too strict, especially because he always prioritized the royal family's reputation over her happiness. When Diana and Charles got engaged, Charles revealed his previous relationship with Camilla Parker. Initially, Diana and Camilla had a fairly normal relationship. Camilla was simply considered one of Charles's friends, and she even attended one of the first public events of Diana and Charles in 1980. However, after the engagement, Diana began to have doubts about Charles's relationship with Camilla, especially when she discovered a bracelet that Charles had made for Camilla, engraved with the nicknames Fred and Gladys. Diana's anxiety grew even more when she discovered clear signs of infidelity. On one occasion, Diana confronted Camilla at a party, questioning her about the relationship with Charles. Although Diana expressed her feelings openly, the relationship between Charles and Camilla continued causing Diana immense pain. Despite experiencing much sorrow in her marriage, Diana found joy and encouragement from her strong friendship with Sarah Ferguson, a friend from childhood. Diana and Sarah were distant relatives, but their friendship grew stronger over the years during their teenage years. Diana helped Sarah become a part of the royal family by arranging for Sarah to sit next to Prince Andrew at a lunch in 1985. Diana unintentionally became the catalyst for the romantic relationship between Sarah and Andrew, and a year later they got married. After Sarah joined the royal family, her bond with Diana grew even stronger as they navigated the challenges of royal life together. A 1987 skiing trip between Diana and Sarah became a memorable moment as they playfully frolicked in the snow, causing photographers to smile, although it didn't please their husbands. However, the friendship between Diana and Sarah faced some significant obstacles. The media constantly fueled rivalry between them, making the public believe they were competitors. Diana, with her beauty and elegance, always won the public's affection, while Sarah received more favor from the royal family. Despite this, their relationship was not able to withstand the pressures, and it eventually couldn't be sustained for long. Sarah began to suspect that Diana had revealed details about her private vacation after the divorce. The situation became more tense when Diana stopped communicating with Sarah, especially after she mentioned an issue with her foot caused by Sarah's shoes in her autobiography. When Diana passed away, they had not spoken to each other for a year, leaving their relationship to end in regret. Diana's 2 sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, were always the center of her life. She had a special bond with her children and was deeply committed to raising them with love, care, and encouragement of independence. She wanted them to understand not only that they were royal, but also that they could blend into ordinary life outside the palace. In a documentary released in 2017, 20 years after Diana's passing, Prince William shared that he thought about his mother almost every day. He recalled her lively personality and how she always made sure her sons understood that life was not just confined within the walls of the palace. Diana took her children on public buses, participated in activities at amusement parks, and even visited McDonald's. She wanted her sons to experience the lives of ordinary people and find joy in those simple moments. Diana wanted to ensure that her sons knew they would always be loved no matter what happened. She taught William to live freely and not worry about the future. Her lessons helped her sons feel more connected to the world outside the royal family. Harry, in an interview, shared his special relationship with his mother. He remembered the warm hugs from Diana, the way she would lift him up and hold him tightly in her arms. Each hug from his mother still lives in his memory, carrying her love even though she has passed away. Harry also recalled that Diana always encouraged him to live joyfully, but to be cautious and avoid getting into trouble. He remembered her words and the comforting feeling from those hugs, the loving moments that he still felt, even as time passed. Have you ever heard the encouraging words of Princess Diana to Harry? Her advice helped him through many challenges in life. If you feel moved by her motherly wisdom, leave a 1 in the comments. If not, leave a 0. Don't forget to share this video so more people can feel Diana's love and wisdom. Diana's sudden death in 1997 left a deep pain for her 2 sons, with William being just 15 and Harry 12 years old. This loss was an immense sorrow as they lost their mother at such a young age. Harry expressed that he still longs for his mother's presence every day, and despite the passage of time, he continues to remember Diana, the wonderful mother he will always love. Princess Anne and Diana were very different women. Anne, with her simple style and love for a quiet life, always found peace in outdoor walks. She kept the same hairstyle for over 50 years and valued her privacy. Anne led a life that was low-key in stark contrast to Diana's spotlight and glamour in royal life. These differences created fascinating contrasts in their personalities and lives. In contrast to Princess Anne, Diana loved the hustle and bustle of the city, often wearing glamorous dresses and engaging with the public. She became a fashion icon and one of the most photographed women in the world. Despite the stark differences in their lifestyles, there were still some similarities between them, especially in their charity work. Both were deeply committed to their charitable endeavors and dedicated themselves fully to these causes. Princess Anne dedicated herself wholeheartedly to charity work and was even nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1990 for her contributions to the organization Save the Children. Like Diana, Anne also wanted her children, Zara and Peter, to have a normal life, which is why she declined royal titles for them. However, despite sharing similar values, the relationship between Diana and Anne did not improve. According to some royal sources, Anne once viewed Diana as overly sensitive and childish. Their conversations often took place in awkward and uncomfortable atmospheres. Sensing this distance, Anne began to avoid her brother's wife. The situation worsened when Diana decided not to attend the christening of Anne's daughter, citing her busy schedule. This decision only widened the gap between the two, and their relationship never improved. Diana also had a complex relationship with Princess Margaret, Queen Elizabeth's sister. Initially, Margaret had a great fondness for Diana, as she too was a prominent woman in the public eye. Margaret empathized with the challenges Diana faced and offered support and advice during difficult times in her marriage to Prince Charles. However, Margaret's support for Diana ended after Diana's interview with BBC's Panorama program in 1995. Although Diana did not directly criticize anyone, her words were interpreted as a criticism of the royal family. Margaret, who was always loyal to the monarchy, felt personally offended. After the interview, she severed all contact with Diana and never spoke to her again. Margaret even went as far as to destroy all the letters Diana had sent her and did not bow her head when Diana's coffin passed by during the funeral. The Queen Mother had a complicated relationship with Diana. Before Diana married Prince Charles, the Queen Mother had been close friends with Diana's grandmother, Lady Fermoy, for over 30 years. Some believe that Lady Fermoy played a key role in arranging Diana's marriage to Charles, while the Queen Mother herself thought that Diana would struggle to adapt to the strict royal protocols and other unusual traditions. Initially, the Queen Mother was kind to Diana, understanding that a young woman would find it difficult to integrate into royal life. However, this relationship inevitably became complex and strained. Diana was very close to and fond of Prince Charles, but she felt sad when she realized that Charles valued the opinions of his mother and grandmother more than hers. This feeling of being sidelined made Diana increasingly isolated in her marriage, as if her voice held no significance. It created a large rift between them, leaving Diana feeling abandoned. After Diana's death, there was a strange connection between her and the royal women. As there was no funeral plan specifically for someone as young as Diana, the palace used the Queen Mother's funeral plan. Despite this, Diana had a grand funeral with ceremonies arranged in advance, even though the plan had originally been intended for someone else. The Queen Mother, who lived nearly 5 more years, passed away in 2002 at the age of 101. Diana did not get along with Princess Michael of Kent, whom she considered arrogant and difficult. Princess Michael, with her haughty personality, was often referred to as the bossy princess, a nickname that may have originated from Princess Anne. Diana also called her U-boat commander, a nickname that carried a particular meaning. In 1985, it was revealed that Princess Michael's father had supported the Nazis during World War II as a senior officer in the SS. Although Princess Michael claimed that she was unaware of her father's past, this revelation sparked considerable controversy. Princess Michael faced significant criticism in the years that followed due to her offensive comments. A notable incident involved her being accused of telling a group of black diners to return to their designated area, although she denied the allegation. She was also criticized for naming 2 black sheep after famous tennis players Venus and Serena Williams. These actions caused Diana to disapprove of her, and she could not accept such attitudes. Diana faced many challenges while living in the palace. Many members of the royal family, such as Princess Anne and Princess Margaret, adhered to tradition and disapproved of Diana's modern approach. Figures like the Queen Mother and Princess Michael had opposing views on Diana, creating internal conflicts that were impossible to reconcile. Despite the challenges, Diana maintained her dignity and confidence. She dedicated herself to raising her children and engaging in charity work. Even in the face of loneliness and dissatisfaction from some royal family members, Diana used her fame to raise awareness about social issues and challenge royal norms. She openly expressed her emotions in public, something that some members of the royal family disagreed with, but it won her widespread admiration from the public. Diana's time in the royal family was not just filled with glamorous events and media attention. She endured many personal struggles and tensions within the palace. Although she gained the affection of the public, not everyone in the royal family was fond of her. Diana learned many valuable lessons during those challenging years, and she maintained her resilience even when facing strained relationships and loneliness within the royal family. There were many questions surrounding the Princess of Wales after her death, as many believed it was a planned attack. Dodi's father alleged that his son and Diana were murdered, as there was nothing natural about their accident. There were also controversies that Diana had been under surveillance by the US before her death. In an investigation to clarify the death of the princess, her sister Sarah was interrogated, and she revealed that Diana had called her from Al Fayed's luxury yacht to express her fear that she was being monitored. She believed the yacht had been bugged by Mr. Al Fayed. Lady Sarah mentioned that some believed MI6 was involved in the accident, while others thought that those chasing the princess and her lover were not ordinary paparazzi. Diana's bodyguard was also included in the investigation, but he claimed to have amnesia after the incident and couldn't remember any helpful details. They also discussed the driver Henri Paul, with controversies suggesting that he was under the influence of alcohol and illicit substances. The investigation later concluded that no foul play led to the accident in August 1997, but Henri Paul's recklessness resulted in the deaths of Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed. The case has been closed for a long time, but it cannot be denied that the princess threatened those in power. We will never know what really happened that night, as it remains a mystery. When Sarah openly decided that Prince Charles wasn't the right match for her, perhaps she should have realized that the same could apply to her sister Diana. If Sarah could turn back time, she would make better choices and never introduce them to each other. Diana was a strong and kind-hearted woman, but she lived a sad life. She deserved love for the immense care she showed to others. It seems she spent her whole life trying to be worthy, as being the heir to the throne is a big role to fill, but that shouldn't have led to the dark path of the beautiful princess. Her beauty, captivating smile, and generosity will forever remain in the hearts of many. The world may miss her presence, but you know who misses her more: Prince William and Prince Harry. They experienced a deeper love from the princess, a mother who was not just behind the camera, but also dared to raise her children in ways that many considered unconventional for the royal family. She never missed an opportunity to be a part of their lives, even with her busy charity work. She helped her children see a world beyond the palace walls and taught them what a normal life without royal titles looked like. "20 years later, her children, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, and Prince William, Duke of Wales, have kept the memories of their mother alive as they visit her grave. They organize many memorials and concerts to honor their late mother. Prince Charles, who has long been married to his longtime lover Camilla, now reign as King and Queen of England after Queen Elizabeth passed away in 2022. Every year, many continue to remember the beautiful Princess Diana. She may have passed, but her love remains fresh in the hearts of many. Thank you for watching this video. The revelations from Lady Sarah will surely make you rethink many things about Princess Diana and the royal family. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please share your comments and questions below the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can explore more fascinating stories together. See you in the next video.